Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kyuubi tells the truth to Naruto about his parents during the Wave Mission Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. You don't know anything about pain, Inari cried. He had been watching these ninja that were protecting his family, mostly his grandfather. They were just a bunch of teens and some weird old guy. They could never understand his pain. Inari yelled at her son. She knew he was hurting ever since his father was killed and he had lost hope, but to yell at their protectors was just rude and she would not stand for it. We don't know about pain, huh? Naruto said quietly, but everyone heard him. There was something in his voice that normally wasn't there, and it intrigued Sasuke, freaked Sakura out a bit, and scared Kakashi for reasons revolving around the Kyuubi. Yeah, Inari cried defiantly. But he soon felt cold and wondered why. The room's temperature had gone down because Naruto was very pissed, and he just could not take this brat's words anymore. This change in character scared both his teammates, and worried his sensei. However, his face is what scared them the most. It was devoid of emotion, but he was unconsciously spreading a chilling killer intent that was putting them all on edge. Inari felt it full force and was almost pissing his pants, and he felt that if Naruto smiled at all using that, well, he would be pissing his pants and fainting. Let me tell you something, Inari, Naruto stated with clear disdain in his voice. Somewhere in this world, people will always have it worse than you. So you lost your dad to some idiot tyrant who is controlling your village, but you still have your loving family and people that care enough to protect you and try and make your life better. Naruto held up a hand and put up 3 digits. 3, that's the number of people in this room who have it worse than you. The room seemed to get colder at this point, and it was scaring and confusing Kakashi. This was not the feeling of the Kyuubi, it felt more like death. First is my teacher, the Cyclopes over there. Judging from the way he acts, and he is always late, and from some of the rumors I have heard, he has lost a lot of friends and family in this career. At this, Sasuke and Sakura's eyes widened at that, and they whipped their heads over to their teacher, who did look sad. From the rumors, he had lost his father around your age, then his teammates, which one of them must have been an Uchiha if that is anything to go by, and lastly, a man who he thought as a father figure, his old sensei, and the 4th Hokage. Naruto said seriously, shocking his teammates, none more than Sasuke, as he looked at his teacher with more respect. Next we have Sasuke, Naruto said before he got right in Inari's face. Sasuke is the last of his clan. You want to know why? His elder killed off his entire clan in one night. Surprisingly, there was a lot of venom in his voice. Now we have me, Naruto said, surprising Sakura a bit. She didn't know what to think of this side of Naruto. He was always so happy-go-lucky that she thought nothing got to him, even her punching him. Guess she was wrong. Naruto backed up from Inari, but he had that same blank but scary as hell look on his face. I was an orphan since birth, and you know what? Everyone in my village hates me since then. I was kicked out of the orphanage at 4 and lived on the street for a year until the Hokage, the first person to accept me, gave me my own apartment. Why would everyone hate him at birth? I thought it was just those annoying pranks, Sakura thought. At first I thought it was all just because I was born the night the Kyuubi demon attacked and the people of my village needed something to vent on, and I was it. No, I recently figured out it is much worse, Naruto replied. All those years of repressed emotions was finally coming out. It was just sad that it was coming out on this boy, his family, and his team. He just could not stand it anymore. I am one of 9 people with the same problem. I am not seen as human, I am seen as lower than that, something that people see as nothing but trash and fear of our power, and it is not like we asked for it in the first place. It was forced on us to create a weapon for our villages. Kakashi's eye was a dinner plate at this point. Naruto was literally telling a small boy and everyone else what he truly was. However, he knew that the Hokage didn't actually see Naruto in that way. That was why he tried giving him a normal life, something that the villagers messed up. He messed up as well, it seems. He also could not stop Naruto, this was his choice after all. He just lowered his head in shame. What would his sensei think? I'm so sorry, Naruto. Sasuke didn't know what to think. All these things Naruto was speaking of didn't go along with what he sees of Naruto. The blonde idiot was like that because the villagers treated him like shit? Now that he thought of it, the academy teachers always had it out for Naruto except for Iruka, who seemed to be trying to repair the damage. Why? Sakura lowered her head in shame, she followed her mother's word to the letter. And for what? Making someone feel this miserable because of a power that she was afraid of? That was ridiculous. I am a Jinchuriki, the power of human sacrifice. Nothing but trash to normal humans who see us as nothing more than a weapon, just like that one-eyed old man told me once when I was little, but I was too young to understand and didn't think much of it. Danzo got to him. Oh man. This is bad, Kakashi thought nervously, but after Mizuki's stunt, I get what I am now. I am the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The 4th Hokage could not kill it, so he sealed it in me. I am just a freak no one wants to be around. Naruto growled out before he walked towards the door. He knew his teammates heard that, and after this mission they would not want him on their team even more. He was giving them the time they needed. Where are you going? Kakashi asked. Out to train and let off some steam. Destroy a tree or something. Naruto growled out before he slammed the door. Poor kid. Tazuna said, finally speaking up. No one should treat children like that. Tsunami replied sadly. No one should, and I was not there for him when it meant something. Kakashi said deadly as his head hit the wall behind him, a tear going down one eye. I owe his father after all. Inari looked shell-shocked and Naruto's words gave him something to think about. He did not hate Naruto. He was just a goofy older kid in his eyes. Just because he held something as powerful as the Kyuubi didn't mean that people had to hate him. Life was cruel. He learned that the hard way. Sasuke sat in his usual brooding position, but his mind was racing. What he went through was something like Naruto. They both knew great pain. How could he have seen it? On the other hand, the Kyuubi was a different matter at all. He'd bet if an Uchiha had it in them, they wouldn't be treated as badly. To him, Naruto was a good person for enduring all these years and a powerful ally. He just needed to be trained better to be on par with him after all. Nodding to himself, he decided he would be a better friend to the blonde. He then blinked. You knew his father. Who was that? Kakashi eyed the boy and saw what was going through boy and inwardly smiled at the boy. It seemed that he had already accepted Naruto in his own way. He then held the bridge of his nose and said, the Hokage might kill me if I tell you, since Naruto is not supposed to know because of the man's enemies. All he got was a glare from the boy. Of course, why would Sasuke care about that? Fine, just don't let him know you know, or the Hokage for that matter. His father is Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, and my teacher. Tazuna's family widened their eyes at that. Hell, even they knew who that man was, and Tazuna slapped his forehead. Yeah, you people fucked up big time. Sasuke's eyes were twitching by this point. So Naruto was a Jinchuriki, and the Hokage's heir. Fuck, Tazuna was right. Suddenly there was a thud and they all saw that Sakura's head was against the wall, and she was crying. Mother, you are such an idiot, and so am I for believing you. So he is the real hero. The 4th Hokage made his own son into the true hero of Konoha. She said aloud, making Kakashi blink. He thought she would be against Naruto because of her mother. You two don't hate Naruto either? Kakashi asked cautiously. No. My father often talked about him, and he had full belief in the man and his seals. Sasuke said, bit nostalgic. I see Naruto as a powerful ally if he was trained properly, and a worthy adversary. The 4th Hokage was trained by Jiraiya of the Sannin after all. A seal master. Sakura replied. I read enough about them that if that man used them, he did well with Naruto because he is not unstable like the other Jinchuriki I read about, mostly the Jinchuriki of Suna. He is just sad. Sakura looked really sad. I need to apologize to him later. Then a smile came to her face. Hinata is going to love this. I see. Kakashi replied. Then I guess things go as normal then. Kakashi replied happily that his students accepted Naruto. Arg! Naruto yelled as he destroyed his current training ground with his clones. He had been doing that for hours with loads of clones. Suddenly he fell on his face and passed out. He had tired himself out. However, something wanted to speak with him. Mindscape. Naruto awoke in what looked to be a sewer. He was also in a very large room. Looked around closer, he guessed this was the Kyuubi's cage, judging by all the bars at the end and the tag 4 seal on one of them. So this must be Kyuubi's seal, huh? You would be correct, brat. The fox's booming voice said as he lazily opened one eye to look at the blonde from his lying position. You don't seem that threatening to me. Naruto commented. Faye, what would you know about threatening? Besides, there is a reason I called you down here, and that is? Naruto asked, slightly put off. Since you told those other humans about me, life is going to be harder for you in Konoha. I will give you a reason to not go back there. At Naruto's questioning look, the old fox continued. I know who your parents were. Really? How? Naruto asked while narrowing his eyes, looking for trickery. The Kyuubi lazily looked at the blonde and said, How could I not? I was in your mother as well. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto's eyes widened at that. His mother was a Jinchuriki, and she managed to have him? Maybe there was hope for him. And it was nice to finally hear the name of his mother. So I am your second Jinchuriki? Try third, brat. The 1st Hokage's wife was the first after he beat Madara, who was controlling me. Now, as for your father, you already know who he is. After all, he sealed me into you. Naruto fell to his knees at that. Somehow I always knew. But this makes the pain worse. Not just for me, but for the villagers as well, he said, making the Kyuubi eye the boy. It would seem the blonde was going through a change. I am the reminder of lost loved ones, and I look just like him, making it worse for them. How can they ever accept that? Now do you see why you need to leave that place? But where would I go? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi seems to ponder this for a while. Since you know nothing of your heritage as an Uzumaki, I think it could be safe to recreate a powerful Uzumaki I used to run with before he was killed by Madara. The Grim Reaper, as he was called. The giant fox then told Naruto all of his old adventures with the Grim Reaper, their fight with Madara Uchiha, the fight with the Hokage, and finally that night when Naruto was born. Right, I'll go along with this, but this better not be a trick, Naruto replied. After hearing the fox's story, he felt that the Kyuubi was painted in the wrong light. He just hoped that his newfound trust in the Kyuubi didn't backfire. After all, foxes were tricksters and he had to be on guard. Where do we go to find these weapons that the Grim Reaper used? Luckily for you, brat, there is a nearby seaside cave. It is hidden by a genjutsu that is about to run out of chakra soon. Don't really remember when, but all that you need is in there. The blonde nodded and left the mindscape. The Kyuubi looked at the spot Naruto had been in before he fell back asleep, waiting for the events to come. When Naruto awoke, he noticed it was very early morning and that someone was inches away from waking him themselves. Looking closer, he noticed it was a girl that looked shocked. She had beautiful raven hair and a pink kimono. Yo, was all he said. The girl quickly composed herself and said, "What are you doing out here? You'll catch a cold sleeping out here." "Oh, don't worry about that. I am a ninja, I can handle a little cold," Naruto said proudly. His mood had improved since last night, so there was no reason not to be civil to the girl. So I was right in assuming that, since you had a ninja headband. I am Haku, by the way. I am Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde replied. Haku smiled. Nice to meet you, Naruto. Tell me, do you have something to fight for? Naruto's smile dropped as he thought about that. The only person he thought of was Kyuubi, but he could fend for himself in his mindscape. I am not sure anymore. I thought I did, but recently I am just not sure. I see, Haku replied, and he saw it. Their team didn't really act like one from what he saw. Well, let me tell you something. When you are fighting for something important to you, that's when you become truly strong. I guess that is something to think about, Naruto replied. Haku nodded as he stood up and started to leave, but he turned back and said, "Oh, and just so you know, I am a boy." Naruto froze in place at that. He could hear Kyuubi laughing in his head. The hell, he is prettier than Sakura. He then composed himself, and said aloud as he made his own exit. That's fine, Haku, but I have found a way for both sides to come out of this mission unscathed. I'd get Zabuza out of this place soon if I were you. Don't worry though, you'll get your money. Haku stood stock still before he whirled around, but Naruto was already gone. Oh, he had to tell Zabuza about this. Naruto, following Kyuubi's directions, found the cave with ease because the genjutsu seemed to have run out of chakra to hold it up. Inside, it was dark and cold. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, but it felt unnatural. Like the darkness was alive and the cold felt like it wanted to pull you further into the darkness that awaited you. It was unnerving, to say the least. Naruto, despite all this, just walked in like it was nothing that or he didn't care. However, he was surprised that this cave was so small because he found the back pretty quick. In the back, there was a small chamber with 2 pedestals. On them were weapons. One was a fairly large scythe. It had a plain black handle and the blade was polished chakra metal. The darkness seemed to be pulled in by this strange weapon. The other weapon was just as strange. It was a chained weapon with hook-like claws on the ends that glowed a dull purple. Kyuubi chose that moment to speak through their link. That scythe is called the Death Scythe, the main weapon of the Shinigami. That strange chain is called the Claws of Hades, named after ancient death god. Take them both to revive the legend in you. Naruto nodded as he placed a hand on each of the weapons and was instantly assaulted by images of the past. A man with spiky red hair and a giant fox by his side as they fought large-scale battles. He was part of a large clan with other red-haired people and he even had a wife, a beautiful blonde woman. Soon it was over and he felt the power coming off the weapons. He attached the chain hooks to his belt before, suddenly, the staff of the scythe shortened and he attached that to his waist as well, since it was shorter. Nodding to himself, he walked out of the cave to his next destination, Gato's mansion. A few hours later, Naruto found a fairly large building that was obviously Gato's since it was not run down like all the other buildings in Wave. Oh yeah, that man had plenty of money to spare because he was not going to be able to use it by the end of the day. The remnants of Team 7 rushed over to the smoke-filled area. A large mansion was on fire, or what was left of it after that huge explosion they saw and heard all throughout Wave. Kakashi was inwardly cheering, thinking whoever did this saved them a lot of trouble. That is until he saw something that made his blood cold. Near the edge of the fire was a shredded orange jacket with blood on it. He picked it up and knuckles whitened. When you said you wanted to destroy something, I didn't think it would be this. Did you get in over your head, Naruto? Sasuke saw it and growled to himself. But stopped when they heard Sakura gasp. They ran over to her to see what she saw. Pinned to a tree by a kunai was Naruto's headband and it was heavily cracked like a spider web. The big question was, where was Naruto and was he even okay? You fool! I should just kill you now. Zabuza shouted at the blonde known as Naruto Uzumaki. They had just escaped to the outskirts of Wave. Naruto had raided Gato's mansion and took all the valuables. He gave half of it to Wave and gave the rest to the now enraged Nuke-Nin and his apprentice, Haku. I did it, and there is nothing you can do to reverse what has been done, Naruto said with a glare before he took out a folder. Besides, he was going to have you and Haku killed once you got the job done. Zabuza stared at the blonde former Konoha ninja, Then he took the folder and flipped through it. What he saw pissed him off. That bastard was going to sell my body to Kiri. Ugh. He grabbed his sword and sliced right through a tree in anger. He then stared at Naruto for a moment. Haku had told him of the blonde's exploits within Gato's mansion. He could honestly say he was a bit impressed, but he was already intrigued with the boy with his unusual maneuvers to get his old teacher out of the water prison. If he was to guess, he would say that the blonde was not a normal genius by any means, but a battle genius. He could use that. Also, he silently thanked those mercs for shredding that god-awful orange jacket. He needed to get this kid new clothes befitting a ninja. Not that orange crap. That line of thought made him pause. It was like he was already this kid's new teacher. I see your point, brat, but what now? Are you going to go back to those leaf nin? Zabuza asked while Haku continued to stay quiet. Ugh, he hated that. Most of the time, Haku acted like an emotionless drone. It was fine of the battlefield but not in normal life. Was his training that bad? Ugh, he hoped the blonde brat didn't go back to Konoha. Haku needed a friend. Naruto scowled. No, I bring nothing but pain to them. At Zabuza's questioning look, he continued. I am Naruto Uzumaki, the son of the 4th Hokage and 3rd Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Haku actually let loose some emotion at that. It was not fear or hatred. It was shock and hopefulness. Someone had been through pain like him somewhat. He was sure Naruto had it worse, but he just hoped they could bond over it. Zabuza looked both shocked and skeptical about that. He was shocked that the Yellow Flash's brat was in front of him. The kid looked just like him, but the whisker makes were what made him look a bit different. Also, since when did Konoha have a Jinchuriki? Konoha for the most part never seemed like that had a Jinchuriki to start with. I was not even aware of the first two. Not many would, since the first one was the first Hokage wife. Zabuza's eye twitched at that. The second one was my mother, Kushina Uzumaki. Zabuza had a mini heart attack at that. In front of him was not just the son of the Yellow Flash, but the hot-blooded habanero. Holy shit. That same chick who saved my ass when I was a kid? Dear God, this kid is a true ninja prodigy. I have got to get him on my side. I see, the man said, trying to look calm. What do you plan on doing now? I hadn't thought that far ahead yet. Naruto replied exasperatedly as he hung his head. Zabuza actually chuckled at that. This kid was interesting. Not all that bright, but seemed to make anyone see the good in him. Konoha obliviously screwed up. He hit a freaking gold mine. It was said that Kushina could change the hearts of her enemies sometimes. Man, this kid had it too if he was considering training the boy. Alright then, kid. How about this? While I fully recover, I will teach you alongside Haku. I will make you into a competent shinobi. Not an idiot who relies on luck alone. What do you say? I'll do it, Naruto replied. The stories about this guy are a bit out there, but he was determined to get stronger even if he had to take the demon of the mist as a master. Haku actually smiled at that. Well, glad to see I am not alone in the training anymore. Yeah, so do I call you senpai now? Naruto asked with a goofy grin. Haku's smile grew. I would not mind that. I am older than you after all. Zabuza just let a small smirk grace his masked face as he watched the two interact. A week later, the small group of Nuke-nin were in a clearing. Zabuza felt that they were safe enough to begin training. Zabuza stared at Naruto intently. He had shown good skills when they fought off some idiot bandits, so he was sure Naruto had more tricks up his sleeves. One such trick was the two strange weapons the boy had at his sides. Kid, I have got to ask, what is with those weapons? Oh, I got these before leaving Wave. Apparently, they belonged to a ninja the Kyuubi used to run with before he was sealed with Nito Uzumaki. The fox called him the Grim Reaper, Naruto said with a shrug. Zabuza took a step back in shock. Are you kidding me? You're a mainline Uzumaki? Huh? Naruto asked. Haku decided to help him on this. Naruto-kun, he means that only the main family of the Uzumaki clan can use those weapons. For the Grim Reaper was married into the main line, and I think Mito was a daughter of his or a granddaughter, I am not sure. Before Naruto could really answer, the Kyuubi's voice spoke into his mind. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. You had to be a descendant of the guy to be even allowed in the cave. But if you forced your way in that atmosphere you felt would have killed you and I would not have been able to save you. Oh, now you tell me, ass. Naruto grumbled as he held head in annoyance. Apparently I am the guy's descendant, otherwise I would have died. I see. So you just talked to the Kyuubi there as well. I wonder if I could teach you how to use its power. Probably not. Zabuza mused. That would be a hard and dangerous task. Way too dangerous for him anyway. We'll see what we can do. Now, tell about the weapons. Well, Kyuubi called this one the Claws of Hades. The hooks look like they have a strange yet dark power. The other is a scythe called the Death Scythe. It feels like it has a dark power as well. Naruto commented. So the legends were true, Zabuza said to himself. He really wanted the weapons for himself, but he was no fool. Only an Uzumaki could actually use those. Right then, I will teach you how to use those weapons as well, but before that, here. He gave the blonde a blank square piece of paper. What's this for? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. It will tell us what type of chakra you have. Haku replied. For example, I am an ice user. So I have a high affinity for wind and water. Alright then. Naruto said with a shrug as he channeled chakra into it, the results surprising everyone. The paper gained multiple lines on it before splitting off. Then those pieces changed themselves. A third of the pieces became soggy, some of them burned up, and the rest had a strange reaction. They became dark and wispy. Interesting. Zabuza commented, eyeing all the pieces, but mostly the strange ones. It would seem you have a strong affinity to wind while having smaller affinities for water, fire, and if I am correct, darkness, caused by your interaction with the death weapons. Zabuza held the bridge of his nose. This is going to be a lot of training. Wait a second. Naruto, how many of those shadow clones can you make? You. I don't know. Naruto replied with a shrug. The most I ever made was about 500 when I had to beat Mizuki team for making me steal the forbidden scroll and almost killing Irika-sensei. But hell, I wasn't even tired. The old man told me it took a lot of chakra, but I don't feel the affects. Fucking gold mine. Screw you, Konoha. Zabuza thought happily. Damn, this kid was going to go far, and maybe if they gained a lot more people and money, they could rejoin the Miss Rebels. He hoped Mei was okay. Hell, she could melt his balls off, so yeah, she was fine. Fantastic. Let me tell you a secret about that jutsu. You can train with it because anything it learns, excluding physical aspects, you learn. Arg. That would have so useful in the academy. Naruto groaned, making Haku laugh and Zabuza to chuckle darkly. Alright kid, for the next month, we will be on the road a lot and so, we will be training a lot as well. Get ready for hell. Zabuza said with a glint in his eye and dark chuckle that made Naruto shiver. Not going into the training. Boring for me to read and even more to type. Careful. I heard Orochimaru of the Sannin has been in the area. Zabuza said seriously. They were currently in a land that bordered rice, fire, and water. The hell is he doing here? Naruto asked with annoyance. He had changed his attire in that month. With the money he had taken from Gato, Zabuza decided that Naruto needed new clothes as he was going to train an orange-wearing fool. The blonde's attire now consisted of black steel-toed combat boots, a pair of the black pants that had multiple pockets, and a black wife beater. He didn't feel like he needed a jacket or anything like that yet. And with no headband, his hair was slightly covering his eyes. Speaking of hair, it was less unruly when longer as it clumped together in larger spikes. At times, it would seem that a spike was covering an eye. If you listened on in the conversations people have when we pass through villages and towns, you would know why, Naruto-kun. Haku kindly stated. However, Naruto knew enough about the boy now that he knew that Haku was insulting him. Haku seemed like a kind person, and he kept that persona even when he would be degrading someone. It was nerve-wracking sometimes. Word is, the man is recruiting people for Otogekure, an up-and-coming village that he is leading himself. Great, Naruto replied as he eyed his best friend. Haku still wore the same battle attire and kept the Kiri Hunter mask, but he just wished that he would dress normal when they were in town. I mean, he had to pretend the boy was his older sister while in town, correct Haku? Zabuza replied. Just be careful just in case. I'd rather not fight the man if I can help it. The group was nearing a small village and unfortunately, since they were near water country, people seemed skittish around bloodline users. However, they came there for a reason. Zabuza had heard about a girl there that had a bloodline, and it was very unique to say the least. It sounded like something that belonged in Earth Country. Right. Naruto said. He didn't think he was ready to someone like a Sannin just yet. Sure, he would fight to protect his new family as he saw them, but he would probably die. As they walked through the town, he thought about his training. Suffice to say, Zabuza was a fucking slaving driver. While the man had his clones working on various jutsu, chakra control exercises, and elemental manipulation, he had the original in taijutsu training. The man noticed that Naruto had to decent taijutsu style, so he taught the boy a little of everything since he was a sword expert. And when not training his body, he was training with his weapons. How Zabuza even knew how to use a chained weapon was beyond him. When asked, he pawned it off to some guy in Iron Country, whoever that was. The scythe was just trial and error since it not a usual shinobi weapon. He was so engrossed in his own thoughts that he almost missed a commotion at the end of the street. Almost. They looked past the mob to see a girl on her knees with a rather large bump on her head. Someone must have hit her in the head. Naruto growled at that, and by the look on Haku's currently unmasked face, he didn't like it as well. Found her already, that was quick. Zabuza thought. You two handle this, I am going to go and get a drink. Yeah, whatever, sensei. They should call you the lazy demon instead. Naruto growled. Haku was somewhat amused at their banter. He was used to it by now. Zabuza, while a hard-ass ninja, cared for the both of them like his own sons. He just didn't like showing it though. Just go and help the girl, brat. Zabuza said as he walked away, waving them off. It looks like it could get worse, Naruto-kun. We must hurry. Haku said as he looked back at the girl in worry. Worry about Zabuza-sama later. Right. Naruto confirmed as he and Haku disappeared over to the girl a moment later via body flicker. Leave her alone, I won't like it, but we will kill you if you continue this foolishness. Haku replied in kind. Why are you defending this little witch? A female village spat with vehement. I see no witch. Haku replied, making the girl eye him in shock. Yet all we see is a group of dumbasses picking on a girl. Naruto said. She has a bloodline. We are following Mist's example and killing her, fools. Naruto said while his hair over his eyes. He eyed Haku and nodded to the boy. Haku knew what that meant. They would have to apply a scare tactic they had recently developed with Naruto's death powers and Haku's ice. Naruto silently extended his side and showed these people that face. As that was going on, Haku was making the air temperature drop and ice was forming around them, mostly Naruto. The girl behind them was not affected, but she was shocked that random strangers were helping her of all people. Maybe there were good people in the world after all. The crowd was silently freaking out at that two boys in front of them, but Naruto had captured all their attention when his side started generating wisps of darkness that converged onto Naruto, seemingly making his skin fade away to show nothing but bleached white bones. You fools. You must have seen ninja before. They showed powers similar to the bloodline users. No, you are just afraid, but you turn that hatred into a never-ending cycle. Naruto said in a hollow voice. Leave now or I will kill you. It's the Shinigami. The random villager screamed before the crowd quickly dispersed in a panic. The darkness left Naruto's form, making him revert back to normal. The feeling of dread in the air was now gone and the girls stared at him and Haku in awe, a little jealous of their power. The two boys turned around to take a look at the girl, taking in her features. She had fair skin, dark eyes and light blue hair which she kept in a spiky ponytail with long strands of hair framing her face. She wore a teal short kimono with a gray turtleneck and short sleeves with a jade green rope belt around his waist, and red shorts, light purple wristbands and navy blue sandals. Haku smiled kindly. Hello, I am Hakuyuki and this one is Naruto Uzumaki. Are you alright? The girl stared at Haku for a moment. While he seemed strong, he looked like a freaking girl. Well, his face did anyway. She then turned her head to the blonde and smirked. He seemed like the stronger of the two and well, she wondered if that dead-like state was a bloodline. Hell, Haku could have the ice bloodline for all she knew. Yes, I am. Thank you. My name is Gurren Lagann. She paused for a moment, and then asked. Why are you here anyway? This village is pretty out of the way. Simple, our sensei heard about your unique bloodline and your situation. Naruto replied. Hell, is it similar to ours, your bloodline users as well? Gurren asked in shock. Sort of. I am an ice user, which is bloodline from Kiri. Haku stated before eyeing Naruto, wondering if the blonde would tell his secret. Naruto smiled as well. Yeah, I am not a bloodline user. I am the Jinchuriki from Konoha. Gurren stared wide-eyed at that too. They were people who understood her pain. And they were strong. She liked that. Yes, she heard what Konoha did to their Jinchuriki. It was sad, but it connected them. So your sensei must pretty strong and level-headed to deal with you and make you strong, and he is looking for another? I am your gal then. Naruto and Haku looked at each other in amusement. This girl, despite the abuse, was pretty full of herself. You hit the nail on the head, kid. Zabuza's voice stated. Said man came up right behind them and put his hands on the boy's shoulders. I have made them strong in my own way. However, they were already strong in their own right. I see that same strength in you, Gurren. Haku, my first apprentice, was an orphan boy who had just killed his father during the bloodline purges and still retained his kind nature. Naruto, my second apprentice. He was treated as the thing he holds inside him, and yet, he is still a goofy idiot who can change people's hearts. Gurren smiled at that. Sure, she knew who this man was and was entirely surprised at his behavior due to the rumors around the man. If what he said was true, then Naruto does have that power. I accept. She said with full determination and a bit of smugness. Now there is you, Gurren, my third apprentice. I can see that despite your own hardships, you have retained a bit of smugness, and if I am not mistaken, a bit of vanity as well. Zabuza stated. Gurren blushed at that. You could say that. Then she took on a smug look as he produced a pink crystal and looked at her own reflection. But you do have to admit, I am pretty hot for a 15-year-old. Zabuza said nothing, a bit annoyed already. However, Naruto, being the smart-ass he is, stated, I agree, and while a beauty such as yourself is now a part of our group, maybe you can teach Haku here how to be a real girl. Haku steamed at that. What was that, Naruto-kun? Well, come on man, you dress like a girl, you have the looks of a girl, and I am pretty sure this beauty can help you be a girl. Naruto joked around with a big smile. Gurren was already seeing the team dynamic between these two and was intrigued. However, now came her personality into the mix. She sauntered up to the blonde with a sly smile. My, coming on to me already, a blondie? While I admit Mr. Girly could use a few pointers, are you sure you want him as a true girl? You know, you could just have me. Naruto froze, stuck in his own prank and with a slack jaw. Zabuza roared with laughter, glad that someone finally got him. Haku smiled kindly, but this time it seemed very creepy. Well, she turned that on you pretty quick, didn't she? At Naruto's non-coherent blabber, Gyurin laughed. Oh yeah, this will be fun. But don't worry, Blondie, I am not that into you. I actually think I could go for the girly one. What? Haku almost shouted, completely off guard. Gyurin chuckled before walking to the exit of the village. Don't just stand there, boys, let's get a move on. At Naruto and Haku's gobsmacked expressions, Zabuza smirked as he followed after the girl. Oh yeah, you two are so screwed. The two remained in place for a few seconds before they got out of their daze and ran after them. Their little group had gotten a hell of a lot more interesting. Zabuza grimaced at the news he just heard while he and his students were eating at a restaurant a few villages over. It had been a day since they left, and there was already bad news. He had been right about Orochimaru being in the area, and it seemed that he was after Gyurin. However, since she was not there, the sick man destroyed the entire village before disappearing. Why are things never easy? Oh well, it could not be helped. Now to focus on their training. He would have to help Gyurin develop her own techniques, just like he was doing to with Haku and his ice. Naruto, however, was another story. His death jutsu was very interesting, but he needed more variety to his attacks. Nodding to himself, he addressed the kids. Okay. Here is how training will go. Naruto, your clones will work on the next stage of elemental manipulation for your elements, and work on some of the jutsu that Gato had in his private collection. Those are rightly yours since you killed him and blew up his place. However, I think it would be best if we branch out more. I want you to find something of seals. Your family excelled in those, and I am sure you can too. Naruto smirked. I captain of the bloody massacre, he said with a goofy grin as he used his darkness to manipulate his saluting hand and eyes to go all dead-like, scaring a few nearby customers. Knock it off, dumbass! Zabuza raged at Naruto as he whacked him upside the head. Now on to Haku. I want you to work on your speed. If possible, work with Naruto in the taijutsu department. He has good speed and enhanced strength due to the fox. Also, we need to think up some more jutsu for you. Using the same thing over and over could make you predictable. Yes, sir. Haku said respectfully. Gyurin, I think I can help you with your future jutsu. I knew a guy who could do something similar. We will have to work on that. We will also see about your taijutsu. I also want to try and teach you about poison since Haku here is into the medical field as well. That way he have a few more bases covered. Zabuza ended. Sounds like a plan, big man. Gyurin replied. Good, and Gyurin, just ask both boys, my training is hell. Zabuza replied with an evil look that made the girls shiver. Kakashi sighed as he looked at the memorial stone in sadness. His team had returned about a week ago and things were not great at all. After finding out that Naruto was MIA, the Hokage was enraged, especially when Kakashi told him that Naruto confessed about the Kyuubi. Now, imagine the elderly Hokage's surprise when he saw Kakashi's remaining students support Naruto, and even go so far as to say they would bring back their friend and hero. Still, Naruto's disappearance had proved how dark the citizens on Konoha had gotten. They fell from grace many years ago with their arrogance in his eyes, but now, celebrating the loss of the Naruto was a new low, even for them. In his and Kakashi's eyes, Konoha had true fallen. After that, the parents, with Naruto no longer there, spread word of Naruto's true condition, and that created a rift within the village. The younger generation respected Naruto now more than ever, and they resented the elder generation for what they did to Naruto. The rift widened even more when Sasuke and Sakura told people of Naruto's father. It wasn't just a generation thing after that. It was near panic for everyone. The village looked to be at the brink of their first civil war, all because of the third Hokage's foolish decisions. No, this did not bode well at all. Things have been pretty hectic for Zabuza since that day he took in Gyurin. The three brats got along pretty well and messed with each other a lot. Like how Gyurin took advantage of Naruto's simple-mindedness at times, but he had to divide his attention a lot, and those little brats gave it to him good when he was not truly paying attention. Naruto had resumed his pranking and dragged Haku and Gyurin into it. It was driving him up the wall, but thinking on it, he wouldn't trade these kids for all the gold in the world. Yes, he still had plans to go back to Mist and kill the Mizukage with Mei. He owed her that much for just up and disappearing after his failed attempt of killing the Mizukage. However, he knew these kids were far from ready to go against a Kage and fully trained Jinchuriki nonetheless. Truth was he was just afraid to face the woman. Yes, that's right, even the fear demon of the mist could be afraid. He was afraid because he feared what the woman would think of him. They had been friends since after the Genin exams. They were on the same team before he joined the swordsman. Then they went out and he wanted to propose to her, but the Mizukage was getting nervous again and was cracking down even harder on the bloodline users. After that, things all went to hell, all because he wanted a family of his own. He had a family now, he just needed a loving wife. But life is cruel like that. Thinking about his students, he looked to his newest student, who was teasing the boys. They were currently at a co-ed hot spring, relaxing. Gyurin was quite the shinobi with her poison skills. Her keen perception of her surroundings and of fights gave her a dangerous mind in battle, and it helped her teammates with their fighting styles. Her powers over the crystal release were impressive. Finally, after a month or so of work on her earth manipulation, she was getting better at standalone earth jutsu, and it was helping with her crystal jutsu as well. Then there was Haku, his first apprentice. He had gotten faster like he wanted, and he often wondered if Haku had a second bloodline. It wouldn't be unheard of, just rare. Now if he did have a second bloodline, he hoped it was the swift release because it would explain Haku's rare bursts of pure speed where no one could keep up with him. In addition to that, Haku had gained a few more ice jutsu. Hell, he was also getting into medical jutsu from a scroll he picked up in town they passed. He was doing well. Finally was Naruto, one of his best students. Konoha was full of a bunch of fools if they let this kid get away. His shadow clone jutsu really sped up his training. He had full mastery over wind and fire. All he needed to do was actually make his own jutsu for those unless he already did, and the demon of the mist didn't know it. Now came the fun part. Water. He was going to take them to the desert for a reason. If Naruto and Haku could pull water out of that air, then they could pull it out anywhere. Naruto also seemed to have good control of the darkness element. Zabuza guessed it was because of those weapons, but he could be wrong. And then there was Kyuubi. Zabuza was not proud about what he did to bring the beast out, but Naruto could now use its power if barely. Zabuza knew he had a lot more work to do with these kids, but that was the challenge of it. They were already pretty strong for their age, and they didn't have a village to hold them back with stupid D-rank missions. Now that was a thought. Maybe he should get them a few missions. Oh Haku! I didn't know you were this forward. Guren laughed. I didn't mean it. Haku freaked. Naruto could be heard laughing. Come on girly boy, don't tell me you haven't thought about it. Or are you gay? Oh Naruto, don't be so hard on him. I bet you're just jealous of the position he is in. Guren said. I think any guy would be. He is just a lucky one. Naruto grumbled aloud. Ugh, this again. Zabuza groaned. The gang made it to the desert like Zabuza had planned a few days later. Man, it's so hot. Naruto complained and his companions did not argue about that. It was freaking scorching out. Come to think of it, why are we here? Haku asked. For the next stage of training for you too. Zabuza answered. Haku, I am sure you can teach Naruto the second part of stage 2 of water manipulation. I know you know this, but last time it was easy because of the environment we were in. If the two of you can pull water out of this environment, then your training for water manipulation will be complete. What about me? Guren asked. While they are doing what I told them to do over by that outcropping of rock, we will be over in that oasis over there, sparring. At least I hope it is an oasis. Guren's sweat dropped at that. Zabuza was already suffering from the heat. Come on, I want to see how far you are. Guren nodded and followed after her, hopefully not delirious, sensei. Well, Naruto sighed. Let's do our thing. Haku nodded while looking at Guren as she and their sensei left. After Haku had taught him what to do, Naruto quickly got to work, but each time Haku tried pulling water out of the air, it just got hotter. Haku's mind, however, was not on his task. It was on a certain female member of their group. Naruto, what do you think of Guren? Naruto stopped for a moment to consider the question before he went back to concentrating. Odd question, man, but I think she is pretty cool. Sure, she is flirtier than me and I am still clueless to girls' feelings toward me, but I don't think she is for me. I want someone closer in age to me. He then eyed Haku and smirked. So my female-looking friend, do you like her like that? Haku shook his head at his best friend's constant use of calling him girly-looking. You could say that. What do you think I should do? Naruto gave him a stupid look. Are you deaf? I just told you how clueless I am towards girls feeling towards me and you want advice from a guy like that, but you flirt with Guren. Haku countered, harmless, which will never get me anywhere. Naruto replied nonchalantly. But even though I am clueless with things toward me, I can see how she looks at you. Take for example the incident at the hot springs. If that had been me that accidentally got pushed and then slipped and fell into her, she would have beat my head in. She has a thing for you, man, just ask her out. Haku put on an annoyed look. Sure, he was graceful for the advice, but Naruto just admitted he pushed him. So it was you! Haku shouted as he flung a ball of water at the blonde's face. This water is not even refreshingly cold, Haku. Naruto deadpanned, expecting it to be cold due to his powers. However, they both were smiling after a moment. Sure, they would fight, but they would always help each other out. Thanks, Naruto. Haku replied. No, really, why is it not cold? Naruto whined as he unwittingly used his chakra to pull some water out the air and flung it at the ice user. Sorry, I am at a disadvantage here in the desert. Haku smiled, but his tone was snide as he dodged the water. Their banter went on for a few minutes longer, their minds not on the water control at all, but they were actually doing it, and the air was getting drier. And now, my friend, we need to get you a girl. Haku said happily. Oh, don't go there, man, you still have to ask Guren out. Naruto said as he lost a bit of control and pulled too much out of the air. The rest was a large globe of water that shot past Haku. They didn't realize it, but their water fight had taken them past the small outcropping of rocks. Now they were near a large nest of scorpions. Normally that wasn't so bad, but these were huge. Merchant cart huge, and the water splashed right into their nest. Oh no. Haku replied quietly and fearfully, but the large desert dwellers heard him and turned. I think we should run. Naruto deadpanned, realizing his mistake. You think? Haku screamed as they ran for it. You did well, Guren. Zabuza said as he saw on a rock near the water of the oasis. You still beat me, even in your weakened, delirious state. Guren sighed. I guess you really are strong. Well, I have been training on my own as well. I am nowhere near S-class and I have to protect my students somehow. Guren smiled. Her teacher was a big softer despite his reputation. She smiled as she leaned on the man's shoulder. I am glad you guys found me instead of that freak who killed off my entire village. Zabuza, still uncomfortable with his feelings with these kids, just wrapped his arm around the girl. Guren closed her eyes for a moment, ignoring the heat of the desert, before she snapped them open. The ground is shaking. What? Zabuza asked, wondering if she was getting as sick as he was. The earth is shaking despite most of it being sand. Guren freaked as they stood up, and a few seconds later, Zabuza felt it and tried to keep his lunch in. Aya! Came the screams of the soaked forms Naruto and Haku as they ran past them. Zabuza looked at them like they were nuts. What's after them? He asked. Scorpions! Guren screamed before she too ran away. Scorpions? They can't be that bad, can they? The demon of the mist asked before he turned around only to pale. Son of a bitch, Orochimaru smiled that sly snake-like smile of his as he and his guards met with the 4th Kazekage and his guards in a mountainous region of Suna, which was basically near Suna itself. However, while Gaara's father wanted to get more business back from Konoha, he didn't feel that this man would keep his word. He had the sinking feeling, despite his power, he could not beat Orochimaru in a fair fight. No, this had to end. Konoha was still their ally and maybe he could talk to the Hokage for a better deal. That old man was not unreasonable after all. Hello, Kazekage. Have you decided about our deal? Orochimaru asked in his odd airy voice that sent chills down people's spines. I have Orochimaru. The Kazekage replied in an even tone. And? The snake man asked, already getting tired of this runaround. We will not join you for your foolish endeavors. I will speak to the Hokage personally about what is happening. He is not unreasonable. The leader of Suna replied. How disappointing. I fear Orochimaru was going to kill the man one way or another, but there was something wrong. He felt the earth they were on shake. Was that even possible in this land? He looked to where he thought the source was and he got an eyeful of kids and one adult running for their lives. In fact, they would be running right past them. Why? Aha! Naruto, the young blonde, screamed in fear as he ran past. His darkness powers acting up and making look like a running skeleton in the desert at times. Why do you always get us in these situations, Naruto? Haku, a girly-looking boy, cried out to the heavens as he kept pace with his friend. You were supposed to keep an eye on that fool so this shit doesn't happen, Haku. Guren, a blue-haired girl, shouted angrily yet panicked at the time. Wait, isn't that the crystal user? The snake man thought in shock. I am going to kill you brats for this. I am in no condition to fight those things. Zabuza, a notable Nucknin, shouted as he too was running for his life. He got the girl? Orochimaru thought angrily. Meanwhile, the Kazekage knew what Orochimaru was about to do and was thanking his lucky stars that those kids, mainly the blonde one, and oddly enough, the demon of the mist, made a great distraction for him and his guards. However, he knew what was after them was sent alone. Suna's little scorpion problem, so he made his special gold clone and signaled for his men is to go help that group that just ran by and to secretly kill off Orochimaru's men. He would deal with the scorpion and snake problems all in one, and sure enough, they came. Apparently, by what those kids were shouting, the blonde must have disturbed a nest of the big ones. Fuck. The Kazekage thought as he sent in his gold dust to weigh them down. At this point, Orochimaru got the point as he took out his special sword to run them all through, unknowingly getting some of the gold dust on him. While one final swing, the madly smiling man ran the Kazekage through. Nothing personal, but I need your pathetic village. Your ninja will make great cannon fodder for the ninja of Konoha. Orochimaru teased to the dying man. The Kazekage clone looked up to Orochimaru in fear before that look turned into a smirk. Sorry, but I am not dying today. Orochimaru tried to retaliate, he really did, but he felt weighed down too much. For a Sannin, he was moving at a snail's pace and that was not boding well for him as he tried to escape. Go figure that the body of the Kazekage exploded in a shower of gold dust before all that attached itself to him. As it stopped all movement, it was slowly covering his body. It was like looking at a statue. Ugh! When I get out of this I will kill you! Orochimaru screamed in rage. Not even you can get out of that, prepare to die. The Kazekage said calmly as he appeared before the man and took his fallen sword. I will be back. And I will kill you all! Orochimaru screamed in rage, but knowing that even if one curse seal was active, he could return. With that, the gold covered his face and the Kazekage looked on in respect. Today, Orochimaru of the Sannin dies. Gold style, golden impact. The golden man flew into the air before it started caving in on itself into a large gold ball. With a wave of his hand, the ball soared down to the ground, creating a crater in the sand, which soon filled up, be lost within the sands for all time. The Kazekage stated to his fallen enemy before disappearing in a golden body flicker to rejoin in guard and that very odd group. He had to thank them personally. The group had been escorted to the one place they had not planned on going. The Kazekage's office in Suna. The man looked at them all with piercing eyes. It was unnerving to say the least. Finally, he spoke. First of all, I would like to thank you for being the distraction that I needed. I am in your debt. If you need help, just ask. The group of 4 just stared at the Kazekage in shock. The man was not known to be this hospitable. Zabuza nodded. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, may we stay for a day so I can continue to train my students? Haku and Naruto still need to learn how to pull water out of air like this. The Kazekage nodded. Well, it is odd. See you, Demon of the Mist. I will offer a place to stay for your time here. There is a hotel down the street that will give you a free night on the house. Thank you, Kazekage-sama. Zabuza said respectfully. Since that was arranged, the Kazekage was curious about the man's students. Please, could you tell me about your students? They must be exceptional if they are being taught by you. The man could read people as well, and it seemed that this kid's tamed the infamous demon. He seemed to be a caring person to these kids, not he mass murderer that many said that he was. Zabuza nodded. He supposed that was fair. They were in the man's village, so he had to follow the rules. The girl is Gurren Lagann. She is a very good warrior, and she is a crystal release user. She has many skills in combat that can turn any battle her way. Not many crystal users in the world nowadays. The Kazekage replied. He knew of that old clan. Why one of them was here of all places made no sense. They were from IWA. But they were said to have died out. She must be the last of her clan. Next is my first apprentice. Hakuyuki. He is an ice release user with exceptional speed, and I have the sinking feeling it borders on another bloodline. Zabuza replied, hoping the man knew what he was talking about. He wanted to tell Haku when he was ready. The leader of Suna nodded. That bloodline was indeed rare, and to have it in a Yuki clan member. Well, that would make them unstoppable in the speed department. It is such a shame that Kiri is the way it is. Konoha did try and get some of the bloodline users out of there, but that ended with the White Fawn's death. Since then, no other village has bothered to try. Finally, we have my best, yet most idiotic student. Zabuza stated, ignoring Naruto's outburst. His name is Naruto Uzumaki. He is the son of my hero, Kushina Uzumaki, and the Yellow Flash, not to mention the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. I do hope he is stable. The reddish-haired Kage stated calmly. Zabuza's eye twitched at that. I trust the 4th Hokage's seal-making prowess, and from what I have seen, he is more human than any Jinchuriki I know. Good. The Kage said, very relieved as he sagged in his chair. His parents were strong, and with the Kyuubi in him, and his heritage, he would be near unstoppable if trained right. You seem pretty nervous to know I was stable. Why? Don't tell me you have the Shikaku in someone? Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. When the Kage didn't answer and looked guilty, Naruto widened his eyes. No way you did! Who? The Kage sighed. My youngest son. That made the group's eyes widen. I wanted a weapon for Suna, so I used my son, the biggest mistake of my life. Naruto was looking at him strangely, so he elaborated more. Naruto, this is not Konoha, so it is run differently. The council basically runs the village, and I am just a powerful figurehead. While I do have power, I cannot overthrow the council or go against their decision. The Kage sighed again. I have always been torn between the village and my family, which I value greatly. But that decision of the village over my own family has backfired greatly. It killed my wife, and the Shikaku has warped the mind of my son, more so after the council decided that he was a failure, and used my wife's brother to kill him. That didn't end well for her brother. That's not right. Naruto growled. I take no value in what has been done, and it has torn apart my family. The Kage replied. My oldest, Temari, usually takes care of my younger sons and is always trying to get through to Gaara, the Jinchuriki. That has to suck. Gurren replied with a deadpan expression. Yes, and that is why I asked you to stay away from Gaara. He might try and kill you to prove his existence. The Kage replied, and the group nodded before leaving the office. The next day, after their morning training, Zabuza let them all do what they wanted to do because he got sick again. The man did not like the desert at all. That was fine with Haku and Gurren as they finally went out on their date. Naruto didn't go because he would feel like third wheel. So now he was wandering the streets of Suna extremely bored, and that was never good for anybody. In his bored state, he ran into someone. Helped them up. He found that it was a cat suit makeup wear guy. Sorry about that, Mr. Cat. I am not a cat. The teen shouted. I am Kankuro. Well, nice to meet you, man. Naruto replied before he noticed they were in front of bookstore, and it was showing off the new issue of Aika Aika. While he was observing the bookstore, Kankuro took a look at the blonde, noticing he was the boy that he father talked about. You don't look like much, but my dad talked about you. Oh, you must be one of the Kazekage's kids. Naruto replied. Yep. Kankuro replied with a small but annoyed smirk. This kid would probably just kiss his ass, not that he knew who he was. However, Naruto's prankster mind made him smile. So a Kage's kid, huh? I bet you can get away with more than others. You could say that. Kankuro replied, not entirely sure what this kid was getting at. How about we pull off a little prank? What do you have in mind? The older ninja asked. Okay, I go down there and calmly talk to those kids at the park. You whistle or something when you have the chakra strings attached and watch the freak out. Naruto said with a big shit-eating grin before he jumped off of the building they were on to the park below. Kankuro snickered. This kid is awesome. If this works and we escape, that means we are the best, yeah. He watched as Naruto started talking to a group of kids that seemed to like him. Soon, the puppet user has all his chakra strings attached and whistled. After that, he could not help but laugh his ass off. Naruto had got skeleton and Kankuro was making him do a dance, which freaked out the kids and made them all run, screaming home. What the hell are you doing? Came a female voice behind the puppet user, making him freeze. Kankuro nervously looked him to see his big sister. Hi Temari, reel in that fool and then get the hell out of my sight. The four-ponytailed girl commanded and the boy just nodded, knowing that this was not a good place to be if his sister was pissed. So he pulled the younger blonde to the roof, and then got the hell of out dodge. Naruto reverted back to normal and said, Yo! Where's the fire? Kankuro didn't even bother answering as he ran away. Naruto, that was never a good sign, and by the tapping sound behind him, he knew they had been caught. Turning behind him, he saw a very beautiful blonde woman behind him. He recognized this older teen from the picture in the Kazekage's office. You must be Temari, you would be correct. The blonde woman replied with a straight face. What the hell do you and my idiot brother think you were doing, a harmless prank? Naruto suggested nervously. It is stupid but oddly comical. Temari replied, while I admit it was stupid for kids and all that, I was extremely bored. Naruto groaned. My teammates are on a date, and I am stuck wandering the streets of a village I know nothing about. Temari took pity at that. He was a foreigner, and she knew her brother wouldn't bother showing a kid around. And she did admit that it was a bit boring here, that was why she was always training. Taking another look at the boy her father was interested in, she could not help but think he was cute. And he was not eyeing her up like most of the idiots her age. Maybe I could give this kid a chance, fine. I understand about the boredom this place has. Temari replied and then turned to the side a bit so he didn't see her blush. I also wouldn't mind showing you around. Great. Naruto said happily. It's a date then, what? Temari whipped her head around and was blushing a bit, as she was not used to going on any dates. Yeah. A pretty girl like you showing an outsider like me around this place. I don't mind calling it a date. Naruto replied. Temari smiled at being called pretty. Most of the other guys just ogled her, but didn't dare ask her out due to her being the daughter of the Kage. Yeah, I would like that, she said as she took his hand and they walked away from the park, a pair of teal green eyes watching them as they did. You are powerful, Uzumaki. You blood-fed mother. Right in the middle of their date, Haku and Guren saw that Naruto was walking around the sand village with a very attractive blonde woman about their age. Guren eventually recognized her as the Kazekage's oldest daughter. The hell is he doing with her? Guren asked out of concern. While they flirted a lot, she saw the young blonde as more of a little brother. So naturally she would be concerned if some girl took an interest in him, especially if she was the Kazekage's daughter. I do not know, but before we left, I remember Zabuza-sama mentioning to keep an eye on him in case this sort of thing happened. The Kazekage didn't look like it, but he was very interested in Naruto. Haku replied, well then I am sure we can pick up this later, so let's make sure our little brother is safe. Guren stated, right. Haku affirmed. He wanted to protect his brother figure, and while he was enjoying the date, they could always pick this up later. However, another part of him wanted to strangle the younger blonde for being such a pain. This date was pretty interesting to say the least. As Temari showed him around with a nice smile on her face, he noticed how everyone seemed to look at her with respect. However, the treatment he got was different. Some smiled at him and openly thanked him for helping keep their Kage alive, others, mostly guys, glared at him. He just assumed it was because he was walking around the village with a hottie like Temari. Heh, and you know, Temari actually had a pleasant personality. Despite being the daughter of nobility, or this case the leader of a village, she was not snobbish. That was refreshing to him. Temari smiled. If she had been with any other boy, they would probably make lewd comments and be all around assholes. However, not Naruto. Sure, he would flirt with her, but he was not a jerk about anything. He was quite the gentleman. His personality intrigued her as well. He would be really insightful and smart one minute and be incredibly stupid the next. He was an enigma to her, and it was driving her nuts. There was one other thing. He was a Jinchuriki like her brother, and he was incredibly stable. If she could find out how he does it, maybe she could help her little brother. She felt there was still hope for him after all. She was brought out of her thoughts when someone called her name. Looking at the person, she smiled. It was one of her female friends who had just become a genin, or was it that she was trying to be a genin whatever? Hey Temari! Oh? Who is your friend? A brown-haired girl asked as she came up to them. Hey Matsuri, this is Naruto Uzumaki. Temari replied. Hey, have you seen my brother at all? Sorry, no. Matsuri replied, and Naruto noticed that a few people around them tensed when the boy was mentioned, but the girl did not. Sorry to sound rude, but I noticed something. You didn't seem to tense up when Temari mentioned her brother, unlike some of the passers-by. Naruto said, throwing both girls for a loop. I don't fear him like other people. Sure, his personality can be a bit abrasive and I am too shy to even talk to him, but I don't fear and hate him like the others do. Actually, I pity what has been done to him. The girl replied. On a nearby building, Gaara looked down and heard what she said. He honestly didn't know what to think to that. Ever since this new blonde came to town, Shikaka seemed to be interested in him, and not in the usual way yet. Hearing things like that made him think. I see. Naruto replied. I am glad you answered truthfully, right? Temari said, not really knowing how to respond to that. Well, we better get going. I still have show Naruto around the village and then get something to eat. As they kept on walking, Naruto decided to ask a question of his own. Temari, what is Gaara like and what do you think of him? Temari smiled. Gaara is like Matsuri described, but that is because there have been multiple assassinations on him. I am sure father told you about that. But the one that got to him the most and made him what he is today was the one from his own uncle. Harsh. Naruto grimaced. I don't hate my brother either. I actually hate what has been done to my baby brother. I actually tried to get to know him when we were younger, but father never thought it was a good idea and I just went along with it. Temari looks sad at this point. I was such a fool. Even if he says he loves only himself, I can see he is hurting. I just want my baby brother back. Naruto looked at her sadly, seeing a new side of her that most probably never did. It was a softer side to her. He put a comforting hand on her shoulder and smiled. There is always a way, maybe we'll find one. Temari smiled with some tears threatening to spill over her eyes. Thanks, Naruto, and find a place to eat they did. They found a small barbecue place to eat and Naruto was enjoying it since he was paying and he encouraged Temari to eat whatever she wanted. Normally, Temari could pay since she was the Kage's daughter and she would get a small discount, but since this was a date, she caved. This boy actually made her smile as he told her jokes, the pranks he did, and his adventures with his team. She could tell he was a smart shinobi in some aspects, but it was nice. So she told him stories of her missions out of the village with her brothers. He even listened to her and didn't even ogle her like most boys would. Hell, he seemed excited at some of the stuff they did and what she could do. It was nice. Hey, since you are a wind user as well, why don't we spar? Temari suggested. Sure, I'm game. Naruto replied with a big smile. A date and a spar? This was awesome. As they got up to leave, however, Temari noticed a lone Kenichi at a table. She recognized this person and walked over to her, confusing her blonde companion a bit. When they got there, the woman looked at them and smiled at Temari. She had green hair, which she tied in a bun on top of her head with a hair needle running through it. She also had 2 locks of hair with orange tips framing each side of her face. She also had brown eyes. Her attire consisted of a sleeveless, backless top and short tight pants, with 2 lapels on the front and the back. She wore an obi around her waist, as well as purple arm warmers which extend up to her shoulders, and has bandages around her tights and ankles. Temari, what can I do for you? I thought you were on a date. The woman replied with a sly smirk. Pakura, I just wanted to say hi to a friend since you are all by yourself again. Did you fry someone again? Temari asked with a small blush on her face. Pakura had a red face at that, and she looked angry. That idiot called me a slut, so I taught him a lesson. Fair enough, Temari replied. This is Naruto Uzumaki, by the way. Naruto, this is Pakura, our resident Scorch Release user. Naruto blinked at that. He had not expected to be pulled in the conversation once Temari didn't immediately answer the woman's question. Scorch Release, don't think I have ever heard of it. Anyway, nice to meet you, Pakura, he said as he shook her hand. What is she playing at? Introducing him to all these hot-ass women. Buren asked herself aloud. I think she is just being nice. Haku replied honestly. After all, that is what it seemed like to him. That's what they want you to think, Haku-chan. You may look like a girl in some aspects, but you defiantly don't have the mind of one. Buren replied, making the ice user's eye twitch. Pakura smiled. This one actually seemed like a good guy. Too bad he was too young for her, and with Temari. She took the hand and shook it. Yes, nice to see that Temari found a guy that doesn't ogle every girl he sees. Not openly, of course. A quick once-over is good enough for me. Naruto counter in his mind. To answer your question, Scorch Release is a type of bloodline. It uses extremely hot fire to attack one's enemies. I think the elements are strong fire and wind affinities, which you seem to have. The woman replied. What? How did you know that? Naruto asked in shock. Pakura smiled. I can also read people's chakra through skin contact. You are very interesting. Heh, thanks. Naruto replied while rubbing the back of his head. Then a thought came to mind. Would it be possible to replicate the results of a bloodline through hard work? Bakura seemed to consider that for a moment. I think it could be possible, but it would be extremely hard to do. Thinking about being another Scorcher? Maybe. I have been wondering if I could combine elements, and now that I know it is possible, I am going to try and replicate my teammate Ice powers first. Naruto replied, and he swore he heard someone yell out copycat. Oh well, probably just his imagination. Shut it. Do you want us to be noticed? Buren asked in a hushed whisper, taking this recon thing way too serious for Haku's taste. And with her hand over his mouth, he settled for giving her a deadpan look. Well, good luck with that. Bakura chuckled. She didn't even want to think how much work that would be. Well, I have taken up enough of your time. You two should get back to your date. She laughed to herself as they quickly exited with small blushes on their faces. Yes, she could tell they had a thing for each other. Now I go to find someone who is not an asshole. For the past hour or so, Gaara watched his sister and the one called Naruto spar. Either with just ninjutsu or taijutsu. He could tell that his sister was impressed with the blonde boy. However, none of that actually mattered to Gaara. The words from earlier were still ringing within his mind. Yes, he loved only himself, and that was what made him strong. However, Naruto told his sister that protecting those precious to you is what makes you truly strong. It was conflicting to his mind, and the words of his sister, and that one villager was eating away at him. Pity and love. All he knew was hate. Those emotions were foreign to him, and he needed to stop this. Kill them now then, heh? The boy is a Jinchuriki like you, kill them and you kill their tenant, and we will be stronger. I will love you for it, son. Shikaku madly cackled to his container. Yes, if Gaara could get rid of the Kyuubi, then they would be one step closer to be the strongest. The balance would be upset, but he didn't care. He was mad. Yes, mother. Gaara ground out his gravelly voice before he disappeared in a sand shunshin. He then reappeared between them. Mother wants your blood, Naruto Uzumaki. What the hell? Naruto asked aloud as he dodged a column of sand that came his way. Yo! What did I do to you? You cannot change me, Uzumaki. I am what I am and I will show you that my way is stronger. Fight only for yourself. Love only yourself. Gaara shouted madly. Stop this, Gaara. Temari shouted in fear for the blonde and her own brother. She didn't know how this battle would go. However, he just ignored her, but shot a stream of sand at her. That stream hardened around her, forming a cocoon around her, leaving only her head free. If you think your strength comes from protecting others weaker than you, show me. Defeat me and I will free her. If not, she dies. Shit. Naruto growled. This Gaara was really getting on his nerves, but if this is what I took to open his eyes, then so be it. Fine, just me and you then. I will open your eyes, Gaara. Wait. Let us help. Haku shouted as he and Girin appeared. No, this is a battle to prove whose ideal is stronger. This is something I have to do and see if the path I am taking is the right one. Naruto said with conviction in his voice, and they saw the determination in his eyes. They knew he was doing this because he too was a Jinchuriki. He had something to prove. Just don't die, idiot. Girin shouted before they jumped over to Temari to make sure she was okay. You think Naruto will win? I am not sure. Temari replied honestly. She just hoped they didn't hurt each other too badly. The stare-off between Naruto and Gaara only lasted a few seconds before Gaara screamed in rage and sand swallowed him. It formed a tanuki shell around him. He was taking this fight seriously and he didn't feel like fucking around his opponent the way he usually did by just standing there and letting his sand take the blows. He was in this for the kill. Naruto nodded to himself as he charged the sand creature, only to be swatted away like a fly before Gaara manipulated the sand even more and kunai shot out of the ground toward the blonde. However, instead of a small number, it was thousands of them. Shit. Naruto said while in midair. Thinking quickly, he performed a jutsu he had been working on. Wind style, solid cyclone shield. Before Naruto, a shield-like construct formed and not only stopped the attack, but combined with it. What the I have never seen a wind attack like that. Temari nearly shouted. Apparently it is an attack of his own design. A voice said from behind the trio of observers. The Kazekage, Zabuza, and nearly all of Suna were watching the battle, hoping they didn't have to interfere. I knew he made his own attacks. It is hard to tell what all those shadow clones of his are always doing. Zabuza grumbled. He was not happy that he had to watch this fight. He thought Naruto was going to lay low. Of course not. Why would he do that? When the hell did you all get here? Girin asked. Zabuza chuckled. Just now, but you were too focused on their battle to notice. Naruto stared at Gaara through his attack before he put a hand to his shield and said charge. The shield shot off like a rocket and slammed into the one-tailed Jinchuriki. Gaara felt the air leave him and much more as he was propelled off his feet, but as expected, the nearby sand safely caught him. You will have to do a lot more than that, Uzumaki. Gaara roared as he charged the blonde in a blind rage. Apparently, Naruto said to himself as he took out kunai and added an explosive note to it. Unfortunately, I will have to use something from Konoha. He charged right at the walking sand monster, and as Gaara took a swing at him, he slid underneath the red head. He then shouted, 1,000 years of great pain, as he stuck the kunai under the tail. Gaara's response was to whack him away with the sand tail, while everyone laughed at that attack or was just annoyed. As he was flying away, Naruto smirked and said boom. The effect was instant. A massive explosion overtook Gaara, breaking the integrity of his sand cloak. It just poured right off him. Seeing this, Naruto didn't let up. He created around a 200 shadow clone to beat Gaara. Naruto Uzumaki Infinite Combo. Gaara felt the unrelenting punches and kicks as all the clones kicked him up into the sky and then punched him down to the ground. He then noticed that 4 clones stayed in existence as all the other disappeared. And they were glowing. So, not taking any chances, he brought up his ultimate defense and cocooned himself in a sphere of sand. Naruto didn't know if this was going to work, but he had to try. Gaara, this is over. Wind style, 4 winds destruction. The wind-powered clones exploded upon contact when they touched Gaara's sand shield. The result was a fairly large sphere of wind, shredding everything in it to shreds. Holy crap! Kankuro yelled next to his sister. I don't know if Gaara's sand can stand up to that. It didn't. The Kazekage said with an even tone, very impressed with Naruto's skill with wind jutsu. What do you mean? Temari asked weakly within her cocoon. Normally she would be dead by now, but it seemed that Gaara did care for his sister somewhat. Look! The man said, and both siblings paled. The sphere of sand was no longer there. The hardened pieces were all over the place, and they were quickly dissolving. In the middle of the impact zone, Gaara lay on his back, and anyone could clearly see that he had multiple gashes along his person. Oh shit! Kankuro said with fear. No one had ever gotten past Gaara's second defense, which was his sand armor, and now this kid comes out of nowhere and makes his brother bleed. It was amazing and scary at the same time. Temari looked on in fear, hoping he was okay. Okay, he pulls out the ultimate ass poke and now he has another new wind jutsu that completely shreds everything in it. Sure, that makes sense. Yurin shrugged. It was kinda funny though. Haku replied, getting a roll of the eyes from his friend. However, Zabuza didn't say anything. This fight was something else, and those moves interested him. A true battle genius indeed. What is this feeling, mother? This hurts worse than those punches and kicks. There is also this warm feeling. What is it? Gaara asked aloud to the beast within. He raised one of his aching arms and saw a horrific sight to him. He was actually all cut up and was bleeding. Blood! My blood! Gaara screamed in horror as the surrounding sand exploded all around him. Naruto actually fell on his ass as a column of sand rose up. It was so unexpected to him that he didn't know what to think. Soon, the column of sand began to take shape. It was the shape of the one-tailed demon, Shikaku. Oh craptastic. I will not let you erase my existence, Naruto Uzumaki. Gaara shouted in panic before he let the demon take over for him. Yeah, he was that desperate. Finally! I am free! Shikaku yelled in delight before his massive head turned sharply to Naruto. Heh! And now I have the first person I want to kill in my sights. Goodbye, Kyuubi. Not going to happen. Naruto said aloud as he took out his scythe and ran up the beast's forearm as it reached for him. Fire style, death's fiery touch. The blade of the scythe was immediately set ablaze as he channeled the fire chakra through it. However, due to the scythe's connection to death, the fire was not just red, it was black as well. Naruto then stabbed the fiery blade into Shikaku's forearm as he ran up, carving a fiery path as he ran. The effect was instant because it was superheated. The path and all the sand around it turned to glass. However, Shikaku didn't seem all that bothered by it as he used his other hand to grab the smaller blonde and chucked him away. Oh, that's not good, Haku said as he saw the sand demon throw Naruto pretty hard and far. This fight is far from over. Zabuza replied, catching everyone's attention. Are you nuts, man? Kankuro shouted. I doubt anyone can survive that. There is one jutsu that I know he made and it is the perfect time to use it? Zabuza replied. He asked me one day if I had ever seen any of the 4th Hokage's signature attacks. I said no, but I knew someone who ventured out of the village one day and saw both attacks being used. I told him about it, and I have a feeling I know what he did. That seemed to confuse everyone but the Kazekage, and he looked on in excitement. If anyone could derive a jutsu just from hearing about an original one, then they were a true genius in his books. As Naruto was flying through the air, Naruto barely managed to make any hand signs at the speed he was going, but he made it just in time. Thinking of the jutsu he had wanted to try for a long time, he shouted, Rasengan. Before Naruto hit the ground hard, he was surrounded in a fairly large sphere of spiraling pure chakra. The sphere hit the ground and split the sand all around it, and as far as anyone could see, Naruto was just fine. Shikaku growled at that. Why won't you die? Wind style, drilling air bullet, oh shit. Naruto said, knowing his spiraling protection was not yet strong enough to take an attack of that magnitude. Everything went in slow motion for the blonde. He saw the massive wind attack coming at him and desperately thought of a way to escape this since he also knew he was not fast enough to get away either. Suddenly, he looked at his scythe, the blade more specifically. There lay strange symbols that made him think it might work. Flashback, Sensei, there are some strange symbols on the scythe blade. Any clue what they mean? Naruto asked as he showed Zabuza what he was talking about. He couldn't ask the Kyuubi at the moment because it was being an ass and sleeping. Zabuza looked at the blade in careful detail, while also not touching in the blade because only Naruto was allowed to do that. He recognized the symbols and said, I had a friend once who was a summoner, so I am going to say that they are summoning symbols. Heh, I'll be back in an hour, I am going to try it. Naruto said before running off. Zabuza had a deadpan expression on his face. Dumbass. He'll be back because he doesn't even know how to summon yet. End flashback. Nodding to himself, he knew he had to summon something and he knew just what to summon. Quickly biting his thumb, he spread blood on the blade before slamming the handle of the weapon on the ground. Summoning jutsu, gluttony. Okay, what the hell is that? Kankuro looked on annoyed and disgusted at the same time. For in front of everyone to see was a giant humanoid monster. Naruto was on top of a giant and fat guy that had its ribcage burst open with a giant eye in it. One of the 7 deadly sins, gluttony, Zabuza said. Naruto has an odd summoning contract with that side of his. He is able to summon the god of death, and by that way, he is able to summon the 7 deadly sins and the 7 virtues. Very odd. The Kazekage replied, not knowing what to think. The large wind attack was easily eaten up by gluttony. Alright, it is time to take the Shikaku down, and since you can basically eat any matter, eat him. Yeah! The large sin screamed in delight as they charged Shikaku. What the hell? The sand demon shouted as he saw that he was being eaten. So he did the natural thing. Reformed from the surrounding sand and fought back. It was like watching a gruesome battle between 2 titans. Finally, Shikaku had enough and bashed the duo away. Fine. I'll use this. It managed a backflip, in which Naruto finally saw a sleeping Gaara on his head. However, that is not what really caught his attention. The Shikaku had expelled a massive amount of chakra in the air, before it formed into a large ball, shrinking, and then Shikaku ate it. Now this had Naruto and a lot of people nervous. Naruto was not sure this was something gluttony could take, but there was not time to do anything about it because the sand demon expelled the energy in a massive blast of energy. One-tailed beast ball. Shikaku screamed and the beam of energy shot out towards Naruto and gluttony. Naruto looked on calmly before sighing. Absorb as much as you can, gluttony. Then you can go. Gluttony didn't seem to mind. It seemed excited to eat something new. However, as the energy struck, he figured out why Naruto said what he did. Even if it was the weakest of the 9 demons, that attack was powerful. The energy alone was making it sick and it groaned aloud once it was over. Taking Naruto's advice, it quickly got the hell out of there. That just left Naruto and the Shikaku, and it seemed the demon was still rearing to go, and it was excited that it killed something already. Activated your death form. Came Kyuubi's voice. I highly doubt that fighting that thing as the walking skeleton will help at all. Naruto deadpanned. While you do not have much control yet over that power, I will give you my power, creating something that the original Grim Reaper could do. Kyuubi explained. Alright then. Naruto said aloud as he saw the Shikaku get ready to attack him again. He went skeleton, making the giant sand demon laugh a bit before he saw what happened next. Everyone felt the power of the Kyuubi enter the fight, but not in the form it took. Naruto was covered in the initial chakra cloak of the Kyuubi, but it looked more like pure fire than anything else, so basically a walking skeleton that was on fire in the desert. Normally this would not be a power boost, but Naruto actually felt powerful. Well, this is new, Naruto said in a raspy voice before he used that power boost to quickly move out of the way of the beast's second drilling air bullet. Nice, very nice, Naruto stated. He then brought his scythe up in another attack. Fire style, Hell's Punishment. He brought down the scythe into the sand and surprisingly created a fissure in the earth, where it looked like the fire and brimstone of hell was breaking free. And it was, as thousands of burning hands shot out and latched onto the Shikaku's form. However, what truly scared the demon was that it could not simply escape the burning limbs and reform. It was like they were latched onto its soul. What is this? Shikaku screamed in fright, something the Kazekage noticed. Arg! It burns! What is this? Not even a demon is safe from hell's judgment. A jutsu that Kyuubi taught me. A jutsu made by the first Grim Reaper shinobi. You cannot move because they are latched onto your soul and are burning your very existence. However, it is not affecting your jailer, just you. Naruto explained as he calmly walked over to the shrinking and screaming sand demon. Also with this jutsu, it will ensure that you cannot cause harm to Gaara anymore. Fear of the damned always bites back to those who have felt their touch. Ayaha! Shikaku screamed as he was forcefully shoved back into Gaara, who woke up in time to see Naruto's flaming form walking towards him. No, stay away, Gaara said as he fell on his ass in fright. My existence won't be erased. I want to live. Naruto let go of both powers and went back to normal to give Gaara a sympathetic look. Then live for real this time. That comment froze the sand user. I know the pain. It sucks, but you have to find someone to let it ease away. Sure, you will never forget it, but let someone be your light. I have already proved that my way is better than staying in the darkness and relying only on yourself. You still have family, Gaara. Don't throw that away. He is right, Gaara. I still think of you as my son, and I am sorry for the shit I put you through. I hold no value in it. The Kazekage said as he and the rest of the observers walked over to them, seeing that the battle was over. I will try to be a better father and leader. That's good, Naruto said, swaying on his feet. Now if you don't mind, I am going to pass out now. I guess even a Jinchuriki can run out of steam once in a while. I got ya, Haku said as he held up his friend. Naruto smiled before falling asleep. Zabuza just smiled proudly at his student. A few days later, the small group could be seen at the gates of the Sand Village. The Kazekage and his children were personally seeing them off. It is too bad none of you can stay, the Kage stated. We could use some powerful shinobi. I still have to train these brats some more, and I have my own problems to deal with. It would not feel right bringing your village into it. Zabuza replied good-naturedly. I see, the man replied. Well, I have news for you all and some news for my own village. Naruto, I received word that without you in Konoha, problems have arisen. People are saying that it will be in a civil war like in this, but others feel that it will pass over soon. Oh shit. Naruto groaned. They must have spread the word of his true nature and heritage. It didn't matter though. He was not going back. Some people might be on his side, but he was not going to risk anything. So on that note, a lot of jobs have been coming in since then. You have saved our village in more than one way. If you ever need help, you have the backing of the Sand Village. Just so you know. Oh, and here. The Kage replied on a happy note, giving him a scroll. Naruto was shocked at that. He didn't really know what to feel. Thank you, Naruto said with a bow before he took the scroll. He would look at it later. Gaara then walked up to Naruto. I will do as you say. I will open up more to this village, and hope it accepts me even after all that I have done. Gaara, to make it easier on you, in addition to your family, you already have one friend and that it me, Naruto replied with a big smile as he held out his hand. Gaara, shell-shocked, numbly took the hand and they shook. Thank you, and I will protect my precious people like you have. Ah, what the hell? You got me as a friend as well. Buren replied with smirk. You need to have some hot friends, Haku smiled while rolling his eyes. Oh yes, that is so true. But seriously, I too will be your friend. Gaara nodded in thanks. Kankuro shook his head with a smile. Well, Naruto, if you are ever in town again, be sure to look me up. I am sure we can find another person to prank. He laughed at that until his sister whacked him upside the head. She walked right in front of the blonde and smiled. I never got to properly thank you for giving me back my little brother and my family. She leaned in and kissed him, tongue and all. When she pulled back, she laughed at his look. He looked like he caught the backlash of a bomb. Next time you're out here, don't be a stranger, and yes, I had fun on our date. Since Naruto could only get out an incoherent speech, Zabuza decided to speak for him. Oh, I am sure he will be more than delighted to see you again. Come on, brats, let's get the hell out of this desert. Naruto just followed along with a shit-eating grin, and before long, Haku and Guren were messing with him. The Kazekage, however, looked at the disappearing blonde, then at his daughter, and underneath his veil, he smiled. Before long, Zabuza looked back at the village behind them and chuckled. Man, just 13 and you are already a lady killer. Huh. I don't want to kill women, Naruto replied, and there was a collective sound of forehead slaps. Somewhere is the land of rivers. So he recreated the attack as a defense? An older voice asked. And he did it only using the stories I told you to tell him about. Impressive, barely. While he may have pulled it off to cushion the impact, he truly does not have the jutsu down. He has to learn the original to grasp the concept, Zabuza replied. What he did was basically pulling off a weak rotation that the Hyugas use. If he had used it to defend against Shikaku's second drilling air bullet, his blood would have painted the sands. I see, the older voice replied. Lord Jiraiya, I need help to teach him that attack, Zabuza stated. Jiraiya of the Sannin. He was a man of many so-called talents. He was Konoha's top spy master, a talent that Sarutobi used to track down Naruto. However, Zabuza headed him off, and Jiraiya honestly didn't want to fight Naruto's current protector. No, that would be harsh and selfish. Sarutobi finally relented and told him what Naruto's life had been like, and he understood why he left. He would have as well. But as his godfather, who had done nothing for the boy all his life, he had no right to enter the boy's life now. So, he would settle for the shadows while doing his best to keep the Kiri Hunter Nins off of Zabuza's trail. Instead, he gave Zabuza jutsu for all his students and info about Naruto and Konoha in general. Currently, they were in the back of a bar while Zabuza's students were enjoying the local festival of the village they were in. I gave you scrolls on ice and crystal jutsu for Haku and Guren, now you need jutsu for Naruto. True jutsu, not the simple crap I have been providing you with. Jiraiya sadly laughed at that. You know, I was going to teach the boy when he was ready, but that is out of the window now. Would you have told him the truth about you? No. I do not hold that right anymore. I gave that up when I never even visited him while I was in town. Jiraiya replied sadly as he took out a few scrolls. If I had taught him, he would have already been a toad summoner, like his father. Again, that is out of the window with the death contract. The Toad clan, hell, any summoning clan is deathly afraid of that contract. It is not natural after all, I agree, but it saved his life against the Shikaku. Indeed, Jiraiya replied. I am not even sure he could learn the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, but here is that just in case. Here is a scroll on the Rasengan. You also mentioned he want to try and combine elements to recreate bloodline jutsu. Here are Minato's notes on that along with space/time jutsu. Not even sure he will be able to use that. Was there anyone that could recreate bloodline jutsu? Yes, that is where space/time jutsu comes from, believe it or not. The second Hokage brought it out in the open and Minato showed the world what he could do with it. Jiraiya replied in all seriousness. I see. Naruto will have a tough time ahead of him if he wishes to do any of that. True. Now I must go. I have taken up enough of your time and as always, I will tell Sarutobi-sensei that I have not located you yet. Jiraiya replied. Thank you. Zabuza said as they shook hands and left the bar. Two men in black cloaks with red cloud and large straw hats walked down a road in river country. The same country that held the village where Naruto and company were. Remind me again why we are going out this way. The taller of the two complained. Leader wants us to collect more money for the organization. I simply want to test the boy. The shorter of the two replied in a monotone. Oh bullshit, Itachi. Sure, you may want to test him, but also to screw with him because he left Konoha. In way, yes, Kisame. Itachi replied. He left my village and now it is on the verge of a civil war, leaving my little brother at risk of being taken by Danzo. Yikes. And I thought Kiri was messed up, but whatever. I just want to fight Zabuza to see how he has changed. Kisame replied. Still, that crap in Konoha is making my blood boil. One half of Konoha cares not for the little Jinchuriki, thinking his is the demon, while the other half is trying to repent with their kids for harming the hero of Konoha and their greatest Hokage and a badass swordswoman. Do all the swordsmen of the mist think that? Itachi asked nonchalantly as they walked. Yeah, and Zabuza was saved by her, so he probably thinks he is doing her a favor by taking care of her kid. The guy was always a softer for kids, I guess. Itachi replied before they vanished from the road. Score! Naruto shouted as he used his throwing skills to pop all the balloons in a game booth he and his teammates were currently playing at. Very good, Naruto. Now only if you could use those skills against a horde of bandits. Haku replied with a sly smile. Oh, screw off, Haku. Naruto growled as he took the big prize and then put it in his prize scroll. Knock it off, you too. Haku's girlfriend, Gyurin, replied in annoyance. I swear I need more girlfriends. You two act like brothers so much it is infuriating sometime. Sorry, Gyurin. The boy replied in unison. Soon, however, they all just laughed it off and decided to go on some rides instead of just stick to games. The first ride they went on, Naruto chose the bumper car ride, where he laughed hysterically while bumping into everyone, much to Gyurin's annoyance. There was a spinning teacup ride that Gyurin thought was nice. Unfortunately, she didn't know how sick she would get on that ride. Apparently she had a form of motion sickness. It sucked even worse for some innocent bystanders, which made Naruto laugh his ass off while Haku apologized for his girlfriend. Haku, well, he decided to feed the ducks in a nearby pond. He did not any repeat performances. Soon, they were walking toward the rendezvous point to meet up with their teacher, Zabuza. He had to meet a contact of his, who usually kept them informed of the world's events and occasionally provided Zabuza with means to train them in jutsu. As they were waiting, Naruto got bored and took a look at their surroundings. He often did this to make sure any Konoha ninja were not following him. But like usual, they weren't. However, he did see something. Up on a rooftop, there were two men staring down at him. Both wore strange black cloaks with red clouds on them. One of them did not have his large straw hat on his head. Sasuke? He thought as a reflex. No, this Sasuke was older unless his old teammate had a rather strange growth spurt and had grown older in the last few months. Then he highly doubted that was Sasuke. If not, then who was this? Hey brats, I got what we needed, let's go. Zabuza's voice brought him out of his trance of his stare-off with the Sasuke look-alike. Naruto nodded slowly before he followed them, albeit with less energy than usual. Something they all noticed, but would not ask about in a place like this. Oh, he saw us. Kisame chuckled. That was the intention. Itachi replied. You know, I am surprised as he didn't say anything or that Zabuza didn't even sense his old friend. Itachi replied, not really caring. He wanted to mess with the kid, see if he remembered him at all. As they walked through the busy streets to their hotel for the night, thanks to Zabuza's benefactor, Naruto swore he was either tripping, in a genjutsu, or they, more specifically, him was being followed by the Sasuke look-alike. Everywhere they went, he swore he saw the man, standing in crowds, staring at him. Or he was on the rooftops, walking in step with him. What really tipped him off to being in a genjutsu was at one point, the same man was in the crowd, but in familiar Konoha armor, and it was one of his old protectors before his disappeared. However, the way he disappeared was via crows. And no one noticed. Weasel Itachi. Naruto murmured. However, it came out differently to those who not in the genjutsu. His team just heard him say the man's name from the boy in a drone of voice. That chilled the bones of even Zabuza. Why? Because when he looked at Naruto's eyes, they were devoid of any emotion or even noticed that the man is looking at him. Oh shit. Zabuza replied, seeing that Naruto was in a genjutsu and the boy knew who did it to him. The man not even he wanted to run into if the stories were true. The man, who killed off the entire Uchiha clan except for his little brother. Thinking quickly, he dispelled the illusion over the boy, making him blink. Naruto looked up at Zabuza and nodded, confirming the man's fears. Itachi Uchiha was in town. Hello, Naruto-kun. Itachi's voice said calmly. The group looked to see he was in their path and that his partner was behind them, blocking their way back the way they came. Itachi, what do you want? Naruto asked, the atmosphere getting tense and the crowds were starting to take notice. Haku and Gyurin froze up at that. They heard the stories about this guy and they really didn't want to get in a fight with him even though they had gotten stronger. They could not beat him alone. I need you to come with me. Itachi replied calmly. Not going to happen, Itachi. Zabuza said as he stood in front of the blonde and reached for his giant sword. I heard what organization you are from. Akatsuki are hunting the Jinchuriki for some reason. I wouldn't let you take Kushina's son. Itachi's eyes widened a fraction at that. He was not aware that Naruto, nor any of his traveling companions knew of Naruto mother. Then I shall take the Kyuubi by force. Zabuza was about to block whatever Itachi was about to hit him with, but he had to use his sword to block the other man's sword. His eyes widened because he recognized it. Kisame, hey Zubi! I'm back! Kisame screamed out in laughter before they took to the rooftop to perform their dance of death. Back with Itachi and Naruto's teammates, they were freaking out. I don't have the power to kick his ass. Gyurin freaked silently. By now, most of the crowd had run away after seeing the two swordsmen go at it. They did not want to get in the way of a shinobi battle. They tended to get destructive. We can take him. Naruto growled. How do you think that? Haku asked. We do this together. Naruto said as he took out his scythe. Ah, the famed death scythe. I get to see it in this lifetime. I am honored. Itachi replied. I doubt that. Naruto snapped. Just one question before we do this. Why? You were my protector as a kid, then you go and kill off your entire family, and you are now hunting me. What's the reason behind all this? To simply test myself? Itachi replied, infuriating the blonde. And the leader needs what is inside you. He ended that by getting in Naruto's face before flicking him away, shocking both his teammates. Haku glared at Itachi for that. You won't get my brother! He nodded to Gyurin and they went through several hand signs. Itachi raised an eyebrow at that. Ah, bloodline jutsu, ice style, frozen tundra, crystal style, growing crystal thorns. Their collaboration jutsu froze the landscape they were in and all the buildings grew pink crystals that ended in multiple, sharp at a blade, spikes. What was even more dangerous was that they were interlocking, creating a death trap field. Impressive, Itachi thought. He knew how dangerous this was getting, but so far, Naruto had not impressed him. It was teammates that did that. So he coated his feet in chakra to safely land on one of the spikes that seemed to still be growing. Haku noticed that Naruto was nearby and was waiting for the right time to attack. He threw Gyurin a look, and she smiled. It was time for a team collaboration. Time to use Naruto's specialty, ice style, ice spears, crystal style, crystal spears, shadow spears. The 5 or so of each type of spear multiplied into about 100 and rained down on a calm-looking Itachi. However, they didn't shatter when they struck down on the ground. They fused with the surrounding elements, making the battlefield that much more dangerous. They knew it could not be that easy to beat Itachi. That proved true when his speared form disappeared into a poof of smoke. You will have to do better than that. Then try this! Naruto shouted as they all jumped him. Naruto has his scythe glowing the red hot with his death's fiery touch jutsu, Haku has his mirror claws at the ready, and Gyurin had her crystal lance at the ready to punch a hole through the Uchiha. However, as they all converged on him, he disappeared in a murder of crows. You have improved from what I heard, Naruto-kun, but not even this teamwork will get to me. Itachi's voice taunted. Why didn't you stay in Konoha, where you were safe from people like me? I wasn't even safe in Konoha, you of all people should know that. Naruto growled. They would never accept me, and even if word got out while I was there that I was their son, they would kill me on the spot for being a liar. They see nothing but pain and loss when they see me. So it is better if was not there at all. And the impending civil war? I would have happened eventually. Naruto said in a depressed tone. I am disappointed. Itachi's voice stated, which shocked Naruto because he could tell the older boy was disappointed in him. Why? I thought you wanted to be the Hokage and make them respect you. Such a shame. Itachi replied, but Naruto didn't believe it for 1 second. The older ninja was hiding something. That's not the real reason you are asking, Naruto stated. Understanding something. The reason the man spared his little brother. You wanted me back in Konoha to give Sasuke an anchor of sorts. You wanted me to keep him in line and a way back for when he has his revenge against you. Itachi was very impressed at that. It would seem that with these people, Naruto had gotten more insightful. Then you know that you are no longer of any use to my plans. Itachi said as he appeared on a rooftop not far from them. Naruto saw the rapid hand movement, and cursed inwardly. already knowing the attack because Sasuke used it. Fire style, great fireball. Itachi stated as he expelled a giant fireball that was rapidly moving towards them. Naruto saw that his teammates were frozen in shock at the large and powerful attack coming right towards them. None of them were skilled enough to block that or truly dodge it. Haku's eyes could probably not even stand up to that. With its rapid descent unto them, Naruto did the only logical thing he thought of. Pushing chakra to his arms, he pushed Haku and Guren out of the way. As they went flying in either direction, Naruto did his best to get out of the way. However, it caught his right arm while more like singed it. Arg! Naruto screamed as he held his severely burnt and bleeding arm. I am impressed that you managed to pull that off in the little time I gave you. Perhaps you are not a lost cause, Itachi said as he calmly walked over to Naruto. Having had enough of this battle, Naruto looked to Guren and Haku to see if they were okay. They were, but they were also a little beat up. Naruto knew, even together they stood no chance against this man. He was just too powerful. His arm was proof of that. So, in a last-ditch effort to get out of this alive, Naruto waited until Itachi was right in front of him. He knew this probably would not work, but he had to try. With a face full of pain, Naruto removed the claws of Hades from his waist, and with skills taught by Zabuza, even if they were a little rough, he sunk them into the Itachi's chest. Itachi had seen this coming. How could he not with his Sharingan eyes active? He was testing the boy after all. Testing his resolve. He still believed that Naruto would be Sasuke's anchor. His light. He was right to still believe in the blonde, that is why he sent in the shadow clone to take the hit. However, he was not prepared for the supernatural effect that the claws of Hades provided. For when the claws sunk in, he himself felt the piercing bite. Sure, the clone felt it too, but it did not dispel. It just stood there in shock and absolute pain. A pain they both felt, and now fear because Itachi had a feeling he knew what this was. Those claws, the claws of Hades, did not merely attack the flesh, it also attacked the soul of the victim. Not for the first time in his life, but rarely now so in years, he was afraid. But his major question was, how was it affecting him as well and not just the clone? Then it hit him. He remembered the description of the Shadow Clone Jutsu when he was given permission from his father to learn it. The Shadow Clone Jutsu evenly splits not only the chakra of the user, but the soul as well. When Naruto had gotten this soul-harming weapon, he would never know. Naruto grimaced as he pulled with all his weakened might, and just like that, the piece of Itachi's soul was pulled out of the clone. But it did not stop there. It went into Naruto himself. So this is what it felt like to die. Itachi felt part of him die the moment he felt part of his soul was truly gone. In that moment, Itachi actually felt immense anger. If he was to die for real, it would be by his brother's hand, he owned him that much. But for Naruto himself to do it, that was not on his agenda. For a moment, forgetting all that he came here to do, he charged the blonde in anger. A nearby sound came and out of the corner of his eye, he saw Zabuza come flying into a building. That did register in his mind as something wrong, because a moment later, Kisame was sent into another building. However, he continued on, not really caring at all. He took out a hidden blade from within his cloak, a blade he used from within the ANBU, and struck Naruto down. More specifically, he sliced off Naruto's right arm, the one he burnt to a crisp. The right to kill me does not belong to you. Itachi spat before he noticed what he did and calmed down. Although inside, he panicked. How was the blonde supposed to help his brother now? How was he supposed to defend himself against the Akatsuki? Finally he came up with an answer. Nodding to himself, his Sharingan eyes took on a new form. The form of a three-pointed shuriken. His Mangekyo Sharingan. Tsukuyomi. A few seconds later, he let go just as someone entered the scene. His bleeding eyes widened at the sight, and he knew he had to flee. Quickly moving over to Kisame's recovering form, he hastily said, "Now is the time to flee." Kisame warily looked at his and Zabuza's attacker and groaned. Yeah, one hit is enough for the moment. With that, the two Akatsuki members disappeared from the scene. Just what hell is going on here? A woman's angry voice shouted out. One part of the city is flooded all to hell and this one has ice and crystal all over the place. Zabuza blinked away his shock. Not from the woman who entered the scene, but from Naruto's severed arm. Then he looked to the woman and knew why the Akatsuki members had left. Jiraiya the Toad Master being in town was bad for them, but for Tsunade the Slug Princess to there as well. Well, Itachi must have known he could not have taken them on when they both came at him. Yes, Tsunade of the Sannin was in town, along with her apprentice Shizun, and pet pig, Taunton, and they did not look happy, not at all, just my luck. Zabuza stated out loud. Zabuza rushed to Naruto's side despite the fuming Sannin a few feet away. Haku and Guren rushed over as well. You fool! Why did you do that? Guren shouted. She really didn't care that some angry woman was bitching at all of them. Despite his recent fog from the Tsukuyomi that Itachi forced on him, he weakly smiled at his teammates. That's what teammates do, idiot. Haku replied while trying not cry. He then used a ripped piece of clothing to cut off the blood flow to Naruto's severed arm. That made the blonde cry out in pain, catching Tsunade's attention. What the hell? What is going? She stopped dead in her tracks. Before, she was angry that she was being ignored by these people, but she soon found out why. The blonde kid, who looked familiar to her, was badly injured. However, when she saw the extent of the boy's injuries, she stopped, frozen in her tracks. Her fear of blood overpowering her. Shizen saw this and inwardly scowled. However, she went to the young boy and helped him herself. To her surprise, the wound was closing, albeit slowly itself. Shaking the strange thoughts away in her head, she looked at the blonde and smiled. "Hello, my name is Shizen. What's yours?" Naruto knew what she was doing. She was trying to keep his mind off the pain and the eventual grief of losing a limb. So, he smiled weakly and said, Naruto Uzumaki." Shizen froze at that. She knew that name. That was the name of the Jinchuriki of Konoha. Now that explained why the wound was closing up on its own. It also confirmed the rumors that were flying around that she heard. The boy left Konoha and was the cause of unrest in her old home. Now, she did not hate him for that. As far as she was concerned, the civil war surrounding him was a long time coming. Sure, she heard about the rumors and took them to heart, but when she tried to tell Tsunade about the boy and Konoha in general, the woman just waved it off, saying she did not care. How could she not care about someone that was related to her? "Nice to meet you, Naruto. Now I am going to do my best to help you out here." She then turned to the feminine-looking boy and smiled. "It would seem that you have some medical skills. I want you watch what I do and help me." Haku just nodded dumbly as he watched her work. While that was going on, Naruto was looking at the woman that was traveling with Shizen. He absently knew who she was. How could he not? After the display of power he saw in the last few seconds that Itachi attacked him, he saw her punch Zabuza and his opponent into a few buildings. This woman was Tsunade of the Sannin. Someone he actually learned about in the academy when he paid attention. She was the granddaughter of the first Hokage. If that was true, then she was also the granddaughter of the Mito Uzumaki, the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Also, she was part of his family, a fellow clansman, and with her not being there for his family or even stepping in to help him, that just pissed him off. So he exploded. "The hell are you just standing there, Granny?" Naruto growled, rolling through the sudden jerk of pain. Zabuza listened in on this with shock. He didn't know the kid had the balls to yell at a ninja far stronger than him. Yeah, he was just going to sit there and listen. No way was he getting in on this. Shizen froze in shock when she heard Naruto, but this speech that she felt was coming, was a long time coming. So she calmly did her work while rooting for Naruto. Despite her fear of blood, Tsunade sent a menacing glare Naruto's way, to which he just ignored. "What did you call me, brat?" "You heard me!" Naruto shouted in rage. "I heard about you from the academy lessons back in Konoha. You were a great ninja, one of the Sannin. The frickin' princess of Konoha. And you left, never to return. They never really mention why, so I asked the old man. He said you lost people close to your heart, like your brother and lover." "Shut up." Tsunade snapped, not wanting to hear this. "No! So you closed your heart partially, and left Konoha with this nice lady," Naruto continued, gesturing to Shizen, who was smiling softly. "You may have lost some of your family to wars and fighting in general, but to blame Konoha for your misery, that is just stupid." He paused there. He might be a hypocrite for doing the same, but he had a good reason, right? You had people there willing to help you get through your pain. You had the old man, who looked at you like a daughter, and other friends. Your teammates, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, the latter of whom went nuts and is now dead, but you still had them. Then there is your family. You may have lost a lot of them, I understand that, but you still had them. Your grandmother was Mito Uzumaki, the wife of the first Hokage and the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. So that means you are an Uzumaki, like my mother. Kushina Uzumaki, the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. By this point, Tsunade could not take it. She was on her hands and knees, silently crying as she listened to his sharp and truthful words. She knew he was right. She had been a fool. This boy, who reminded her of her little brother, was right. She had been selfish. Then there is me, Naruto Uzumaki, the third Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The pariah of Konoha. The demon spawn. I was and probably still am hated by most of that village. I was alone, wondering if I even had any family. If anyone even cared for me. The old man would not tell who my parents were, probably to protect me from their enemies. Only recently did I figure out who they were. My father, the fourth Hokage, the yellow flash and hero of Konoha. Minato Namikaze. My mother, the hot-blooded habanero, Kushina Uzumaki. It was then I knew why Konoha hated me more than I thought. I not only have the beast that killed thousands inside me, but I also look like my father. I am nothing but a reminder to their pain. There was silence for a few seconds. Girin didn't know what to think. Sure, she was hated for being different in her village, much like Haku, but it seemed that Naruto had it worse. She was just glad that she and Haku were there for him. However, I only had Old Man Hokage and the Ichirakus to keep me from darkness. I had no family. Naruto said. If you had gotten over the past, which I admit is hard, then I might have had some family. I am sure there were others like me out there. If I find them, I will make sure their pain is gone. Tsunade, having heard enough, calmly walked over to the blonde, Shizen quickly getting out of the way. She hands glowed as he touched the spot where his arm used to be. She knew that the burn arm was not going to be reattached anytime soon. When she was done with what she wanted, she stopped and gently kissed his forehead. I am sorry and you are right. She paused for a moment, and then said, I made it so that if you want, you can use a prosthetic arm. Zabuza, by now having gotten over his shock, said with a thoughtful look. That won't be necessary. What do you mean, sensei? Haku asked, a bit angry that Zabuza was just going to abandon Naruto. I have an old friend in Iron Country that owes me a favor, and with their technology, I am sure we can give Naruto something better than a plastic arm. Zabuza replied. Oh. Haku said with a blink, making Girin chuckle. So, on to Iron Country then? She asked. On to Iron Country. Zabuza confirmed. Wait. Tsunade ordered. What? Naruto asked. I am coming with you. I want to get to know a part of my family before I set out again, and I want to help them with your am. The legendary medic replied. So I won't always be there, so I might help Haku with his medical training. Haku's eyes widened by that. He was going to get medical training from a legend. Badass. Very well. Zabuza said as he took Naruto on his back and they set off. However, what he and his students really wanted to know was what happened with Itachi. Ugh, it will be a while before we reach Iron Country. Zabuza stated as they took a rest in a clearing near Earth Country. They actually had to go through Earth Country to get to Iron Country. That was either going to be a good trip, or a horrible one. Tsunade, while setting Naruto down by a rock, saw Zabuza's apprehension. You need not worry of Iwagakure. What do you mean? Haku asked. He knew that the hidden village of stone probably still hated the fourth Hokage and most likely Naruto as well. I was there a few years ago. Tsunade replied, shocking the group. They had a small plague and I had to get rid of it. There I learned that most of the fourth Hokage haters were either dead or have become missing ninja. Inoki and most of the village don't care anymore. They knew war was going to take a lot of lives and those who died have paid that price. Now, Inoki does respect power, and he knew that if the fourth ever had a kid, they would be powerful and he would not be against having a ninja like that. Wow. Naruto said weakly. He had lost a lot of blood due to having lost an arm and was weak. Zabuza stared at Naruto with a serious look. Now was the time to ask Naruto about what Itachi did to him. Even though the boy was in a weakened state, he had to know. Naruto, what did Itachi do to you in that Tsukuyumi? He said outright, alerting both Tsunade and Shizen. Oh right. After Itachi cut off your arm, he called out a strange attack. The Tsukuyumi or whatever. Girin said. Naruto sighed. He knew they were going to ask sometime. Looks like that time was now. Nothing harmful. He just told me the truth. The truth? The group asked all at once. Can explain what you mean? Shizen asked in concern and Naruto nodded. Flashback. What the Naruto asked aloud as he looked around. After Itachi had uttered that single word, everything had gone dark, only to be replaced with the seal room. Only it was not complete. The caged area was there and so was Kyuubi, but the sewer was long gone. In its place was the creepy landscape of the Tsukuyumi. Now we have time to truly talk, and I am sorry for overreacting and slicing off your arm. Itachi said as he appeared within the ultimate genjutsu. Naruto gave the older Uchiha a deadpan look. What do you really want, Itachi? To tell you the truth? The truth? Naruto asked. Yes, about a great many things. Itachi stated before he looked at the Kyuubi. Did you tell him about what prompted you to attack Konoha? If it could, the Kyuubi would have sweat dropped. And not really. It must have slipped my mind. I see. You know, I have wanted to know that. Naruto replied. Very well, I shall tell you. Itachi replied. On the night of your birth, a man claiming to be Madara Uchiha, a man who is supposed to be dead, attacked. Through subterfuge, he managed to release Kyuubi from your mother and take control of him. You know the end result of that. Naruto nodded to that as he glanced at the Kyuubi. It would seem that the Kyuubi was not good with mind control or whatever that this Madara did to it. Now on to other happenings within the village years later. Jiraiya of the Sannin contacted the third Hokage about a group called the Akatsuki that are hunting the Jinchurikyu. At that time, I was reporting about a possible coup from my own clan. They wanted to take over the village because they thought they were the rightful leaders of Konoha. Naruto nodded to the man, telling him that he was still listening. I was a Konoha shinobi first, and I did not like where this was going. Neither did the elders and the Hokage. So, the four of them came up with a plan. The Uchiha needed to be put down. I was tasked with eliminating them all. However, during that night, I was confronted by the man claiming to be Madara. He took glee in the fact that the ones who betrayed him were dying, so he killed off most of the clan for me. However, while I was able to kill my parents, who understood why I was doing this, I could not kill my little brother. I loved him too much, so I begged the Hokage to leave him be. He promised he would, but I felt that Danzo wanted Sasuke for his own means. That is where you came in to help him. However, there was still the matter of the Akatsuki, who only took in S-class criminals. So, while I kept Sasuke alive, I was branded a traitor and sent out on one last mission as the spy within Akatsuki. I am doing this more for you than the Hokage. I also see you as my brother, thanks? Naruto asked, not really sure how to take that. Still, this Madara was someone to look out for. Itachi just smiled before it turned into a frown. Now that you know that, I need to tell you who the members of Akatsuki are and the true leader. Now I know you will not remember them very well, that is why I am implanting this info in your head as well as telling you. There is me, and my partner, Kisame Hashigaki. As you have seen, we work in pairs. Alright, Naruto said, understand the importance of this conversation. Then there is the zombie brothers, as most like to call them. Kakuza and Haiden. They are very dangerous and can only be killed in certain ways. Itachi stated, and Naruto got the feeling that he would not enjoy a battle with them. Next we have Sasori of the Red Sands and Deidara the Mad Bomber. Zetsu is an odd one, and he works by himself. He has a strange bloodline that makes him look like a Ventus flytrap, and he is our spy master. Next we have Konan, an old student of Jiraiya, who was thought to be dead. Jiraiya of the Sannin had more students other than his father? Well, that was news to him. Our leader calls himself Pain. However, that is not his true name. It is Nagato Uzumaki, another student of Jiraiya is thought to be dead. However, while powerful, he is left in a weakened state due to his power, which is the legendary Rinnegan. With that power, he has taken hold of his old friend's body, the only dead student of Jiraiya. Dang, talk about messed up. Naruto grumbled. True. Itachi replied with a nod. However, the true leader of Akatsuki is someone you already know of, the man who claims that he is Madara Uchiha. So that is the reason they want the Jinchuriki ergo, us-tailed beasts. Great Madara and his insanity again. Kyuubi grumbled aloud. So how do we defend against this? Naruto asked, not liking the odds. He knew he was not strong enough to fight these people. He could not even beat Itachi, his missing arm a testament to that. Gain alliances. Itachi replied. Me and Kisame are your secret allies, and from what I have heard, you have the backing of Suna. Oh right, Naruto said with glee. And the scroll from the Kazekage mentioned that he would help find the old bases of Orochimaru's Sound Village, and then tell me when asked. If I could get them on my side, that would be great. True, but that is a on-the-fence deal. I am truly not sure how the people there will take that. Itachi replied honestly. So, do more good things while on the road and you will have your defense. Naruto nodded, then said, what about Nagato? He is family. I think I should try and get him onto our side before it is too late. Itachi shook his head. The man has a serious god complex thanks to his power. If you tried that, you would have to nearly kill him to wake him up. I see. Naruto replied before he waved it off. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. Very well. Itachi stated as he walked up to the blonde. Now I wish to discuss what you did when you took part of my soul. Naruto looked sheepish at that. Yeah, sorry about that. I honestly didn't know the claws of Hades would do that. Kyuubi didn't mention that little tidbit. He glared at the fox. The giant fox shrugged in a non-caring way. Sue me. Itachi chose to ignore the small fight. It matters not, however, you now possess a part of my soul, and in doing so, I think my powers as well. The blonde gave an intelligent answer. Huh, the Sharingan. Add chakra to your eyes. I want to confirm. Itachi ordered, and Naruto did so. The blonde felt an itching in his eyes as the Jujutsu activated, making Itachi nod. It seems that I am correct. The Uchiha stated. He was troubled. If Naruto had the Sharingan, he would also have the Mangekyo Sharingan as well. He could go blind. He did not want that. He had already crippled the boy. Thinking on it, an idea struck him. I was going to give this to you later on in life, to protect you from Madara and if Sasuke gave into the darkness. Now I give it to you for protection against the harmful effects of my power. Itachi stated as he walked closer to the boy, both hands glowing with small orbs. With the Mangekyo, you will lose sight a little bit each time it is used. However, there is a way past that. It is called the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Yours will be different, however. I will give you the Sharingan of my friend, Shursui, and the Sharingan of a long-dead Uchiha. Obito's Sharingan was nurtured by my clan after it was partially crushed. I am not sure how they got it to Mangekyo form, but all I know is that they were planning on using it for something bad during the failed coup. Itachi said as the eyes shifted into two crows and flew into Naruto's mouth, shocking the poor boy. For a moment, Itachi was able to see the eye's future form. An impressive seven-sided shuriken with Kakashi's pinwheel interlocking with it. Ugh! That was nasty! Naruto shouted, not really understanding as he tried to get the taste of feathers out of his mouth. Wait, how is this going to work in an illusion? Itachi smirked. You are more perceptive than I thought. Let's just say this battle has been a cover for this. He paused and then said, you will not be able to activate the final stage of the Sharingan for quite some time. What? Why? Naruto whined. Because I have locked it. This process is a dangerous one for a non-Uchiha, but since you are an Uzumaki and therefore a branch of the Senju, this will work. Know this, only when you see a precious person die and feel great sorrow and grief, will this power activate, and I honestly hope that day never comes. So for now, I would get used to your new Sharingan. Right. Naruto replied. Now we must get back to the real world, where I have slipped a scroll in your pocket for if you ever do get that power. Itachi stated, making Naruto nodded and this disappear. While the Kyuubi and its seal was disappearing, the fox swore he heard, protect Naruto, Kyuubi, not just from his enemies, but from the power of the Sharingan. You should know what I am talking about. Very well. The fox replied, it didn't like it, but having a Sharingan on its side for once might do some good. Itachi stayed there a minute long and sighed. I may have created something powerful. Uzumaki/Senju and Uchiha, what can come from that? End flashback, which was very long. The group just stared at the blonde in shock. While Zabuza was inwardly freaking out about the mentioned Akatsuki members, Guren was staring at Naruto in disbelief. Bullshit, you don't have the Sharingan. Well, it is possible since we do not know the power of the claws of Hades. There is only one way to tell. Naruto, if you would. The blonde boy shrugged, not really caring if he had them or not. It was not like he was going to rely on a bloodline, right? Nah, he had jutsu and he was going to make some badass ones just as soon as he got a new arm and got back into elemental training, of course. Alright then. Naruto said as he closed his eyes and channeled Churka to them and felt the familiar itching. When he opened them, the group gasped. Itachi's Sharingan was now his. Tsunade's hand glowed the medic green as she put her hand over Naruto's eyes and gasped. They were real. Incredible. And you have retained your natural eye color. This is just amazing. Naruto cut the flow and looked at them all in a deadpan expression. Great, now that is over with, I am going to sleep for the night. The blonde said as he drifted off on the rock he was on. Tsunade and Zabuza looked at each other and nodded before walking a little ways off, ordering Shizen to keep an eye on things. Tsunade took Zabuza aside and said, with the Sharingan, he could become powerful. I just hope he uses it properly and does not get the Uchiha ego. That's after we can get him a new arm. Zabuza replied. Speaking of which, what are we going to do in Iron Country? Tsunade asked, curious about what they were going to do for Naruto. I have a friend in that place who owes me a favor. Their technology is far more advanced than ours since we are more focused on our petty differences and are always at war. They, however, just protect their land and have great tech over there. Zabuza replied. Okay, who is the guy that will help us? Tsunade asked. Zabuza smirked as he came closer. His name is. Shizen was happily chatting with Guren and Haku while Naruto snoozed on a rock when Tsunade shouted, What? Oh, I wonder what Tsunade-sama is upset about now. Shizen wondered aloud. Who knows, but I am sure she can get over it. Guren replied while waving it off. I am just surprised that shout didn't wake Naruto up. Haku replied. Well, he did get his arm sliced off in a battle with an S-class ninja. Guren offered. Oh right. Haku replied sadly. He was blaming himself for what happened. However, one look at the blonde, and he shook his head. Honestly, Naruto would kick his ass for having thoughts like that. Naruto probably didn't have any regrets. So, with determination in his eyes as Zabuza and Tsunade came back, he said, no more messing around. If Naruto has the power in him to save us, we need the power to save him when the time comes. If that's the case, I promise my training on the way to Iron Country will help a lot. Tsunade said with an evil grin as she cracked her knuckles. Haku gulped at that but nodded nonetheless. Shizen saw the look on Guren's face as well, and with the girl's knowledge on poisons and other things, maybe she could help as well. Guren, I'll help train you as well. Sweet. Guren said with a smirk. Zabuza sat next his blonde student, and he could have sworn Naruto had a smile on his face as he slept. That made the feared swordsman smile underneath his bandages as well. Maybe this was a good thing. White. Nothing but white. God, he already hated snow. Naruto eye twitched as he looked around. This was almost as bad a hospital. Are we there yet? Naruto asked as Zabuza was carrying him on his back. Sure, Naruto could use his legs, but at the moment, the blonde was being an ass. Zabuza grunted. No. Guren smiled as the blonde had been asking that a lot. Sure, it was annoying and it ticking Zabuza off, but that was fun part. Are we there yet? Naruto asked again. No. Zabuza growled. Yeah, it was just annoying, but she had an idea. With a devious smirk and wink to Haku, she said, You know Naruto, you could ride me. Huh? Naruto asked with a dumbfounded look while Haku and Zabuza smirked. Tsunade and Shizen looked at each other with raised eyebrows, not used to how things work with this team. Yeah. Guren smirked. My lovely back is available. I am sure you don't want to be on another man's back. Naruto was left speechless as his jaw was dragging behind them. Zabuza looked to Guren, giving her a thankful look. The blue-haired girl smiled cheerfully. She managed to shut Naruto up. Yeah, that did not last long though. Are we there yet? Yes. Zabuza shouted as they entered a small snowy village. We are finally here, damn it. Okay. Naruto said as he slid off of the demon of the mist's back. No need to yell about it. Zabuza growled to himself as he imagined strangling the one-armed blonde. Haku just shook his head as he patted the man on the shoulder. Don't worry, sensei, that's just Naruto. Yeah, I just hope this shuts him up. The swordsman replied. He then noticed that Haku was giving him deadpan look. Yeah, you're right, that will never happen. An interesting group you have brought to my village, a man said. The group looked to see a man that had long, gray hair, which almost reached down to his waist, with bandages wrapped around his head, probably for a battle scar or something like that. He had black eyes with distinct wrinkles underneath them, a gray goatee and mustache. All he wore was a simple purple kimono-like outfit and sandals. Mifune, Zabuza said politely with a bow. It has been too long, old friend. The man known as Mifune replied with a polite tone. May I ask what you are doing in these lands? Zabuza nodded and pointed to Naruto. I have come to collect on an old favor you owe me. I need you to use your technology to give my student a new arm. He lost it in a fight with Itachi Uchiha. I see, Mifune stated as he calmly walked over to the blonde and looked over the wound. He noticed that it was closed up properly, and he could replace the arm easily enough. He looked towards Tsunade and nodded to himself. I see you did a wondrous job, Tsunade. You have not lost your touch in the medical area. Tsunade smiled at that, and Mifune noticed something about the woman. She seemed happier than the last time he saw her, which was a very long time ago. This boy he was going to help seemed to be important to the group if they were willing to come all the way out here. I will require your help on this, Tsunade. The new procedure that we developed needs more safety than we can give out. It is a dangerous procedure that can kill a normal man, that is why none of us have done it. Zabuza blinked. Huh, he just needs an arm. What the hell do you plan on doing that could kill him? Mifune eyed the boy and saw more determination in him than most of his samurai. He knew who this boy was due to the whisker marks on his face. He knew without a doubt that he was to be the one they tested their new project on. So, instead of speaking to Zabuza, he spoke directly to Naruto. Uzumaki-san, while we can rebuild you more specifically your arm, we have seen that it has side effects, some not good as it affects the bone structure to those that have it. I know what you are, and with your permission, I wish to test something on you. Depends on what it is, Naruto replied, not liking being a test monkey. In addition to giving you a metal arm, I wish to test grafting the same metal on your bones. It will hurt you beyond imagination, but it will make you indestructible. Mifune replied in a calm tone. What kind of metal are you going to use, and how the hell are you going to be able to do that to him? Tsunade asked in a heated tone. It is the same metal we use to make our blades. Adamantium and chakra metal. Mifune replied. The hell? No wonder your men are having problems, that shit is too heavy. Tsunade ranted. I understand that, but this new procedure should help. Mifune contested. Tsunade sighed, but looked to Naruto. It was his decision after all. The blonde boy was in a thoughtful pose. What do you think, Kyuubi? Well, it is dangerous, and I will say there is a possibility that you will die due to the extreme pain. However, having that kind of metal on your bones will be good for you. The healing factor I have given you will be improved, and think how badass you would look when you go death form. That was enough for the blonde teen and smiled and said, I'll do it. Very well, Mifune said as he turned away and motioned them to follow. We eat first, and then do the procedure in the morning. We will need your help, Tsunade. Right, I'll be there, Tsunade replied with a grim face. She was not going to let Naruto die from this. Haku just wondered what was to come from all of this. Was his brother figure going to change, or will he stay the same? Only time will tell. Mifune was nice enough to let them sleep at his place. He seemed like a humble man, but the samurai of this land did not let him have a simple little house as he said that he wanted. No, it was a fairly large mansion. He, however, made it a black and white coloring. He must have liked the simple life. So as soon as they made it inside, a girl around Naruto's age greeted them. She was a long white-haired girl with part of it covering her left eye, which was an amber orange color. She wore a deep red kimono that was open to reveal a tank top that held in her rapidly growing bosom and a pair of short shorts that revealed very long legs. There was not a flaw on her, and altogether, it made her very beautiful. Yo, was her greeting. Mifune smiled as he put his hands on the girl's shoulders. This is my daughter, Misa. Zabuza blinked at that. Wow, I didn't know you have a kid. Mifune looked at the man and said, if you came here more often, then you would know. Zabuza nodded in consent at that. Mifune was an old friend, and he hadn't seen the man since he met Haku. Now, I will go make dinner. Please make yourselves at home. Misa looked at all of them with a bored look before she smiled. Well, you all know me, now why don't you tell me who you are? Naruto smirked as he pointed a thumb at himself. Name's Naruto Uzumaki. Remember it, my name is Haku. It is very nice to meet you. The ice user said politely. This hot chick right here is Girin. The crystal user replied smugly as she did a once over the white-haired girl. But I must say that I am getting a run for my money with you. She gave the white-haired girl a wink that conveyed a message that she got as she smiled. Misa looked to Tsunade and smiled challengingly. I know who you are, Lady Tsunade. One day, I am going to test my mettle against you one of these days. Why? The aged medic asked. Simple. You are one of the strongest women in the ninja lands, and the samurai here would not even go against you. I intend to be the first. Tsunade gave her own challenging smirk. You wish, kid? Yeah, she already liked this girl. She had guts. I am Shizen, the polite woman said after a moment. Misa smiled at the woman and then at the rest. She also knew Zabuza as she nodded to him. I already like you people. Especially Gyurin here. Tsunade held back a laugh as she knew what was going to happen. She had learned that Gyurin was a major flirt. God, if Jiraiya were here, he would be in as much trouble as the boys were about to be. Oh? You like me too? I knew there was a connection we had, Gyurin said as she walked right up to the other girl, so that they were pressing up against each other. Naruto and Haku grew nervous at that. Was there a fight in the making or what? I am sure it is more of an attraction than a connection, Misa replied as they pushed against one another. She then put an arm around the blue-haired girl and then smashed her lips to Gyurin's. No fight, just two chicks kissing each other in a very provocative way. Tsunade cut her eyes to Naruto and Haku and nearly laughed at their reaction. Their jaws were on the floor, and even that did not last long as they were rocketed back from a nosebleed. Zabuza didn't know what to do as they were way younger than him, so he turned his back and left all the while wiping blood from his nose. After a few seconds, the girls broke apart, looked at the state of the two boys and laughed their asses off. Girls could act perverted if they wanted, but if guys did it to other girls, then all hell breaks loose. Yeah, that made sense. Misa smiled and said, so which one is yours? Haku, the girlie looking out. But in a sense, they are both mine, Gyurin replied with a cheesy smile. Misa knew what that meant. While Gyurin was with Haku, she considered Naruto to be her family. Well then, I'll just take Blondie off your hand. Unless you wanted to have some girl time, although to be honest, I'm not one for girly shit. Well, that will have to wait for later. I have to train Gyurin some more. Shizen interjected politely. If that is the case, I might as well train Haku some more, Tsunade said as she grabbed a hold of the girly one's ankle and dragged him out of the mansion, who was followed back Shizen and a giggling Gyurin. Misa sighed at that. Well, it wasn't all bad. She still had the blonde one with her. So she set him on the couch to wait for him to wake up. It would be nice getting to know a new friend. Zabuza walking into the kitchen to see Mifune working on some stew. An interesting daughter you have. Mifune smiled sadly at that. She takes after her mother. Zabuza chuckled at that. Yeah, you always were one for the odd ones. You are one to talk. How is the auburn-haired one that threatened to melt your ball off? Mifune asked. I am not sure, Zabuza replied honestly. I have not been to the mist lately. I fled like a coward after my attempt to kill the Mizukage. She probably hates me and has moved on. But you have not? It was more of a statement than a question. Mifune looked to his old friend to see that there was still love in the man's eye for the one known as Mei. At least not yet. I see you have an interest in the woman traveling with Tsunade, Zabuza chuckled at that. Maybe. She is a strong woman in her own right. Also, the more I think about my students, the less I want to bring them to the mist. They are great kids and they don't need to see that horrible war. You are becoming less of the so-called demon, Mifune noted. Just do what your heart desires and you will be happy, Zabuza nodded at that. He also noticed how quick his old friend changed the subject of Misa's mother. He could only think something bad happened. So what happened to Misa's mother? Mifune stirred the pot of stew slowly with a sad look. She was a strange and adventurous woman, but not even that could protect her from a rare illness. It killed her within a month after Misa's 6th birthday. Oh, I am sorry. Don't be, it was just her time, Mifune replied. He obviously didn't want pity. After a while of helping the man in silence, Zabuza spoke up again. I found the heir. Mifune nodded sagely at that. To your sword, I would assume. Yes. My blade was never really meant for me, so I had Haku take hold of it, and it an interesting reaction, Zabuza explained. When something happens to me, he will get the blade. He seems like a stable young man. What was the reaction? It turned to ice and there were silver winds whipping around it. It confirmed my suspicion that Haku also has the swift release. An interesting combination, Mifune deduced. Ugh, that was some perverted dream, Naruto mumbled as he awoke as he rubbing his eyes. Oh, that was no dream, Blondie-kun. Huh? Naruto shouted as he whipped his head around to see Misa sitting next to him with that coy smirk on her face. Wait, that was real? Yep, but we were just teasing you. Great. Here I thought I was a flirt, Naruto said before shrugging. Meh, I just do harmless stuff though, like call girls like you extremely beautiful, but that scene was hot. Misa smiled with a large blush on her cheeks. Thank you. Now that all the fun is out of the way, why don't we get to know each other through a spar? She said with a gleam in her eye. Naruto looked at her for a moment, and then smiled. Well, if you think that you can keep up, I would be more than happy to spar with you. Just lead the way. Raising an eyebrow at the blonde, the girl smirked. If you think I can keep up? Oh boy, it is you that will have to keep up. Just keep up in the right way. She laughed at Naruto's blush as she walked to the dojo. Through her loose kimono, he saw that she was swaying her hips suggestively. Yeah, he was in trouble. Later that night, Zabuza and Mifune noticed that Naruto and Misa were getting along very well at dinner. They joked, messed with each other, and punched each other in the shoulder. Zabuza only saw this with his teammates, or someone Naruto had changed by either talking or fighting. He guessed it was a fight due to the bruise on the girl's cheek and the rapidly disappearing black eye the blonde had. He just chuckled to himself. That kid was a strange one. Mifune, however, was a different story. He saw a small, but significant change in his daughter. That hidden look of sadness in her eyes had disappeared. He knew that her mother's death still affected her, but this boy seemed to have healed that old wound somewhat. She looked happy with him. He liked that she was happy, but he was a father and wanted to scare the boy meh. He could do that later. Haku and Guren smirked at each other when they saw this. In Guren's opinion, the blonde was Lady Killer. First Tamari, now Misa? He worked fast. Haku saw it for what it really was though, and he was thankful that his friend had that gift of his. In truth, Misa did have a crush on the blonde. He was great guy in her eyes. She just knew that he had to leave soon. So she did not make a move yet. Hell, Naruto was too nice despite his flirting, so she knew he would most likely not make the first move. However, their fun ended too soon for her tastes as the meal ended, and they had to head to bed early for tomorrow's event. Right, like that was going to happen. Naruto was way too nervous for that. He just could not sleep. His mind was racing. Sure, he felt immense pain before, but that was from being beaten up in the village, not from this. He sat on the roof of the mansion and stared at the full moon in thought. It was all just too much to take in. Can't sleep? Naruto looked behind him to see Misa in her nightwear. It was red night grown. It made her look very beautiful, especially in the moonlight. Despite his initial shock, he smiled. Yeah, I am not sure this is going to work. Am I going to die? Misa sighed. She sat next to the blonde and looked at him with a serious face. Dad lied to you? Huh, this procedure has been done before. Misa stated sadly. On who? Me. Misa replied as she looked away sadly. Why? Naruto asked as he tried looking at her, only to see tears running down her face. Misa looked at Naruto before she leaned her head on his shoulder. My mom died from a strange and rare illness. We thought it was gone, but it appeared in me a while ago and Dad was freaking out. It was only thanks to my bloodline that I was able to stay alive for as long as I did. Oh? What kind was it? Naruto asked, seeing a new side to the girl. It seemed that while she put on a strong and happy look, she was still hurting. Dad called it the Silver Heart bloodline. Apparently it skipped Mom. It gave me a regenerative power that can match a Jinichiriki's. She noticed he looked startled by that and flinched. However, she already knew what he was from her father, so she did not have a problem. And it was thanks to that I survived so long, but it was nearing its end and Dad was getting nervous. So, he set up the procedure you're about to undertake. What happened? I died. She stated simply. What? Naruto freaked. Yeah, but it did work. Despite all the horrible pain, Misa said while shivering at the horrible memory. Naruto noticed this and put an arm around her in hopes of shielding her from past pain. She smiled with a small blush and thanks. Despite that, it restarted the regeneration ability, but I had to die in the process. But they did not do it with the metal you are going to get. They did it with pure silver. Wow, must have been horrible. Naruto whispered. It was, but there was a light to all of that. Misa replied, gaining the blonde's full attention. In addition to living, I also got to see my mom, one last time. Naruto smiled sadly at that, but noticed the girl's eyes. They were sad still. You were close. It wasn't a question. Misa nodded. Yes. She cried. Dad is awesome and all, but he could never replace Mom, just like how she could never replace him. There are certain things you do with a certain parent that would just be weird for the other. My mom, she was the best thing in my world. I miss her so much. Naruto nodded quietly as she cried into his shoulder. It pained him to see this strong girl, no, woman, crying. She'll never really be gone. Naruto said as he wiped her tears away. She'll always be with you in your heart. That's what the old man said about my parents, and I believe him still. Misa hiccuped/laughed as she gave Naruto a hug. He was right. Her love for her mother will never die, and that was what she took to heart. She pulled away to look at the blonde boy. They both looked at each other in the moonlight, and it had a powerful effect on them. As they stared into each other's eyes, they came together again, but this time in a passionate kiss. She reluctantly broke it after a while and stared at him with a smile. My mother gave me a mission, to find someone that makes me happy. Naruto was speechless for a second before saying, I don't know when I'll even be back after this. She knew he was being honest and punched in on the shoulder. I know that. I just wanted you to know how I felt. You make me happy. She then kissed him again. When she pulled away again, she smirked. Oh, and if I can take the pain, so can you, Blondie. Naruto laughed at that. I suppose you are right. He then stood up and helped her up as well. Well, I'd better get some rest then. Yes, you should, Mr. Grim Reaper. Misa replied before walking off with a seductive sway to her hips. What was all the blonde managed to get out of his mouth? Ugh, this is going to suck. Naruto mumbled aloud as he got in a tub of water. Yeah, instead of describing it this time, just go watch the Wolverine movie, same room and everything on how the room looks. Mifune nodded to himself. Yes, I know this will hurt unlike anything you have ever felt, but think of why you are doing this. Just keep to those thoughts, and you will be fine. You know, somehow, that does not make me feel any better. Naruto replied as he eyed the drill like needless all around him. There was also a metal arm on the side. It seemed like they were going to attach that at the same time. Anything I should know about the metal arm? If you survive, I'll tell you all about it. Mifune replied as he walked away. Naruto looked at the man with a gobsmacked expression. That doesn't help, you know. Mifune just kept on walking toward the upper level with a stoic expression on his face. Tsunade came up to him and said, "It seems legit. I hope for your sake that this works." "I do too," Mifune stated as looked at all the others in the room. His second in command decided to come and make sure everything went all right. The man had some medical training and helped Tsunade with the check over. His daughter, Misa, was there as well. He did not know if Misa had the same procedure to save her life, but in truth, it did not matter. Then there were the boys' teammates. They all looked nervous and fearful for the blonde. Did he look like that when he did this to his daughter? "We are ready, Mifune-sama," his second in command stated. "Right," the samurai leader replied before turning to Naruto's position. "We are going to start now, just remember what I told you." Seeing the blonde nod, he pushed the start button. With that, the platform Naruto was on lowered into the water. Thankfully they had put a rebreather on his face or this won't really work. Then the drills started and came down on the blonde, along for the one to create the hole for the new arm. Naruto felt them on impact and instantly regretted doing this as he writhed in agony. Tsunade looked away from the younger blonde, not wanting to see him in pain. Shizen did so as well, but hid her face in Zabuza's chest. Guren gripped the railing, watching with no emotion on her face. However, her mind was racing a mile a minute, hoping her little brother lived through this. Haku just watched on in sadness. He hated seeing his precious people in pain. And Zabuza himself just held on to the woman, letting her cry out the sadness for them both, for he was crying. He would admit that he had gotten soft, but these kids were his world now. Naruto's mind was screaming just as his body was, but he was determined to take Mifune's words to heart. He thought about why he was doing this. He was doing it so that he could protect those he held close to his heart. Zabuza-sensei, Haku, Guren, Tsunade, Shizen, Tanten, Gaara, Temari, Kankuro, the Kazekage, the Hokage, the Ikarakus, Mifune, and Misa. They and so many more were what he was doing this for. While that was going on, Kyuubi was working overtime to make sure that Naruto, and by extension, himself, did not die. He growled to himself that he did not stop this from the start. But no, he was curious as to how this would go. Soon, however, he remembered that chakra metal was in the mix of this metal. Seeing the benefits of this, he forcefully drew out Naruto's chakra, along with his own, to mix with the metal to make it stronger and to condition it to make sure it could handle the training that Naruto went through. Also, with a devious smirk, he added something else to make sure this new addition to Naruto was worth it. As the procedure was nearing its end, both Naruto and the Kyuubi felt a pull towards death. They both knew this was going to happen thanks to Misa's story, but they were not prepared for what was on the other side. The two opened their eyes to see a room of pure white. So white it was almost blinding. Naruto looked around to see that he could see himself and the Kyuubi, who was standing next to him. What shocked him was that the Kyuubi looked younger than he last saw him. "What's going on?" "I am not sure, Kit, but I kind of expected there was nothing on the other side for us." "Now I would not say that, Kurama." A man's voice called out, and they looked to their left to see someone they did not expect at all. It was the Sage of Six Paths. "Father?" The fox, now known as Kurama, shouted in disbelief. The man just smiled. "Yes, it has been a while," he said before turning to the blonde. "So you are my true heir. I must say that fate chose right." "Huh," the sage chuckled lightly. "Don't worry, child. I am sure you will know in time." Turn back to the fox. "Kurama, come, I wish to speak to you. Let Naruto speak to those that came for him." The fox nodded and walked away from the blonde, but did look back and nearly growled. Standing right behind Naruto were none other than his mother and father, Minato and Kushina. One look at them, Naruto brought them in a tight hug as he cried. An hour later in death time, the sage and Naruto's parents had to go, but they were not done yet in this world. For another man was now standing before them. They could tell he was an Uzumaki due to the long red hair he sported. He didn't wear much, other than a long black cloak with the hood down so they could see his withered, but youthful face. The Kyuubi's eyes widened as he recognized this man. "Shuryu Uzumaki, the original Grim Reaper." "That is correct, old friend," the man replied with a sad smile. "You were there when I died." "What are you doing here?" "What? I can't see an old friend and the one who is my successor?" He joked with a smile, but that soon died away to a serious expression. "I have come for that and more." "What would that be?" Naruto asked. "One is a warning. Some of our family have fallen," the man said before his look grew sad as he looked at Naruto. "I need you to find the spirit of my daughter. She has not passed on yet." "Mito's spirit?" Naruto asked, and that put a dark look on the old Reaper's face. "Not the older sister that died before Mito met Hashirama. I had 3 children and I know what happened to 2 of them. I just don't know what happened to Toki. I find her. I promise," Naruto said with a determined look. "Good," the man said, a bit relieved. "Kurama, take care of him. He has a big destiny ahead of him. I will. Good. After that, the two felt another pull and knew they were being brought back to life. They said their goodbyes and faded away. Naruto. The first thing the blonde heard when he woke up was someone shouting his name. However, he was too groggy to care as he got up, ignoring the fact that the wires and whatnot were snapping off of him. He didn't even notice the metal hand on his face. Ugh, I feel like a train hit me. Naruto mumbled out. That got a deep laugh from his sensei, Zabuza. Kid, it looked worse than that, but at least you're alive. Can't have one of my best students really dying on me. Yeah, I feel so loved. Naruto grumbled because he was brought in a hug by his teammates. Don't do something stupid again. Gyurin choked out, not making any promises. Naruto said sadly as he hugged them. I guess it was worth it since you have some degree of control for that new arm. Haku said. What is that anyway? Shouldn't you have little to no control? I can explain that. Mifune cut in. Due to being a Jinchuriki and having metal already on the bones, he has good control due to the new and improved healing factor. Nice. Naruto said as he moved the arm around to get a feel for it. Then he remembered something. Hey, Kurama mentioned something adding something. Mifune nodded. Indeed. The fox made constructs of his chakra to create bone-like structures in your arm and went as far as manipulating the metal arm as well. So from what I have seen, I think he created katars in your arms. Sweet, now I have 3 weapons to choose from. But the katars are going hurt coming out, aren't they? Like you won't be believed, kid. Zabuza said as he patted the boy's back. Misa finally made herself seen and walked right up to the blonde with a sad look. Glad you made it. So do I, Naruto replied in kind. Then Misa's expression changed to curious. So, who did you meet? She asked, getting questioning looks from everyone but Mifune. Well, Naruto started. Like you, I met my mother, but I also met my father, the original Grim Reaper, and the Sage of Six Paths. Everyone started at him in shock, wonder what was going on. However, most had one thought, and it was that the sage actually existed. What? A week later, we see the group on the outskirts of town, ready to go. Thank you again for helping with my arm problem. And giving me some of those extras for the arm as well. It was my pleasure. Mifune stated with a bow. Naruto turned to Misa next. Thank you too for giving me that advice and for being a new friend. Misa smiled gently before giving the blonde boy a hug. No problem, she whispered. Maybe later we can be more than friends. She backed up to see the blush on his face with a big smirk on her own. She looked towards Gyurin and winked, making said girl giggle. Mifune smiled and said, Naruto, be sure to do those exercises to get the arm up to full use. I will, but just so you know, I am going to get this thing fully functional under the time needed and then I'll be one of the strongest ninja around. Believe it? Naruto shouted. Zabuza chuckled, don't Mifune, I got him handled. Very well, old friend, I trust you. Mifune said politely as he, Misa, and the man second in command watched them go. After they were fully out of sight, Mifune's second in command said, that boy is something else. Indeed. Mifune muttered before an idea came to mind. I think by the time the exams come around, he will have found a village. That is why I want to see what the generation can to do. Dad? Misa asked curiously. For that to be done, I think we will host the exams this year. Mifune stated before turning to his second in command. Let the villages know. Yes, sir, the man said before trudging off. Misa smiled brightly. Naruto, we may be seeing each again very soon. It has been a month since the gang left Iron Country and traversed more of Earth. In that time, their training skyrocketed and now they could hold their own. Maybe not against S-class ninja, but a good number of high-class ninja. In fact, Naruto progressed very well despite his need to get full functionality to his metal arm. He even learned how to use the claws, as he put them, to good use. Haku made a few special moves that were quite deadly. Zabuza even had an experience of his own. Sure, he had gotten closer to Shizen, but during that time, they had become a couple and to everyone's surprise, Shizen was actually expecting. So yes, Zabuza had gotten over his old girlfriend and found love with Shizen. Tsunade had almost killed him when she found out, but thankfully Naruto and Shizen managed to calm the enraged woman down. Now however, Zabuza was putting Naruto and his team to work. They had been on missions when they found a town. While there, Tsunade and Shizen would help anyone they could and Zabuza would find work for the team. It was through a port town that Haku was able to gain a summoning contract for payment. Although Haku barely ever used it, he did say the name if it. Leviathan. Right now, Zabuza had set up an odd mission for them. It was more of a treasure hunt than anything else. They had to get a strange jewel called the Demon's Eye. All the client wanted to know was that if the jewel existed at all. It was an odd request and Zabuza was acting strange, but they took it anyway. However, they had to meet a partner of sorts since they were not the only ones to accept the job. Naruto was leading his friends to the meeting point, and as expected, they saw the person they were looking for. They didn't know her name. She wore an orange clip in her short, spiky mint green hair that matched her eye color, which was also orange. Her ninja outfit consisted of a short, sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. Her forehead protector was worn on her right arm, which showed that she was from Taki. She also carried a cylindrical object in red wrapping on her back. Naruto, being Naruto, just walked up to the girl with a smile. So you are our partner for this, eh? Cool, name's Naruto Uzumaki. The girly boy behind him is Hakuyuki and the real girl is Gurren Lagann. Suddenly he was smacked in the back of the head by the crystal user. I can introduce myself, you know. I know, but I was just being nice. Naruto replied nonchalantly. The girl from Taki chuckled to herself and said, Don't worry, I appreciate. I am Fu, by the way. She then looked a little nervous. There is a reason I am by myself and I hope you don't hate me for it. My village just avoids me. I am the Jinchuriki of the Seven Tails. I just wanted to be upfront with you. Gurren's eyes gained a twinkle in them as she looked from Fu to Naruto, and a devious smirk appeared on her face. Haku just smiled brightly in Naruto. He had a look of awe on his face. The reactions were just confusing the girl. Seeing this, Naruto decided to explain to the girl. Well, it is stupid that your village avoids you, and it would be stupid of me to have a problem with you because that would be hypocritical of me since I hold the 9 tails. Fu blinked stupidly before a smile appeared on her face, and she pulled Naruto in for a one-armed hug. Awesome! I met someone like me. She then looked at his friends and asked him, so they don't have a problem with me either? Nope. Naruto chirped. We are bloodline users from Kyuubi, so we know what it is like. Haku stated politely, making Fu nod in understanding. Well, alright then, let's go get some treasure. Fu cheered happily. The group nodded and tracked forward to the location of the cave they need to go to. As they traversed, Gurren held Fu back so that she could better talk with her. Her plan to set Naruto up with her was in motion. Zabuza was once again in the back of a bar, talking with Jiraiya. So am I right? Jiraiya sighed and nodded. Yep, I can't believe me or my spy network. That mission was a ploy to bring you out to them. The kids are just going to be distracted by the fake treasure hunt. You are supposed to go to them, or they will use the kids to get to you. Damn it. Zabuza growled. The cowards. Listen, they never said you couldn't go alone. Let me help you with these hunter-nin. Jiraiya offered. Zabuza sighed. No. I knew this day was coming. I just hoped it was later than sooner. Especially after I finally found happiness. He paused and then said, if they should succeed, please look after them, especially Naruto and my unborn kid. Jiraiya blinked. Now that was something he didn't know. However, as to who it was that was carrying the man-kid was easy. Tsunade was too old and was still hung up on Dan to care for another relationship. So that left Shizen. I didn't expect that from you. I guess those kids really did soften you up, but very well, I will look out for them the best I can. I know Tsunade will not be happy to see me, but oh well. Where do you think they will go? Zabuza asked. Tsunade will join them since Naruto is family to her now, but probably the nearest hidden village. Jiraiya stated. IWA. Zabuza stated. Oh yeah, and Sensei will be pissed, I think. The Toad Sage said with grimace. I guess this is the last time we meet. Yeah, Zabuza replied. But I will fight. I am a bit better now than I was with Kakashi. Yeah, good luck. Jiraiya said as he got up to leave. So this is it? Naruto asked as the group looked at a very bland-looking cave. If people want some treasure from this cave, why hasn't one gotten it yet? Gurren sighed as she smacked the back of the blonde's head. Idiot. What was that for? Naruto barked, making Fu laugh. It is simple, we can't use chakra in there. There is something in there that prevents people from actively using chakra. That is why no one has ever found the treasure inside. Fu explained for him. Correct. Haku stated. While it makes sure we can't use chakra, there are obstacles in there that no normal person can get around. Why didn't I know that? Naruto asked. Because you didn't read the mission papers. Gurren sighed. Oh right. Naruto said sheepishly as he rubbed the back of his head. No worries, let's just tackle one thing at a time. Fu said with a smile as they entered the cave. Once inside, they all felt a little weaker and Naruto commented on it. So, this is what normal people deal with. It sucks. Fu laughed. I suppose it does, Naruto, but they still do a lot of thing in life. As the two Jinchuriki chatted, Gurren and Haku observed them from behind as they kept moving forward. They seemed to be getting along. Haku stated with a smile. Yes, and maybe we can get Naruto with her. They just seem right together. Gurren said with a smirk. I seem to recall you saying something similar with Misa and Temari well after you started liking them. Haku mentioned. So? Gurren replied. There are many girls for our little brother to be with. He just has to choose and so far he has not. Sometimes I just don't get you. Haku deadpanned. No worries, I am just trying to help, but it seems to is doing a fair job himself of attracting the girl. Gurren observed. I guess you are right. Haku stated as he watched the interaction between Naruto and Fu. Naruto was just being himself, and Fu did not seem to mind it. Also it seemed that she was taking a shine to him. Before anything else could be said, they had to stop. Why? Well, there was a huge hole in the ground and they could not ninja jump it. How are we going to get across? Naruto asked. Fu thought about it and said simple, I throw you. That seems go what WHAETT. Naruto shouted as he was thrown across to the other side. Haku and Gurren soon followed him, screaming all the way. Are you nuts? We could have died, but you didn't. Fu said cheerfully. How did you do that anyway? Naruto shouted. The natural ability that my tailed beast gives me. I have great strength, and it overpowers this cave a bit. Fu explained. Super strength? Man, and all I get is super healing and great stamina. Naruto grumbled under his breather before he noticed that Fu was still on the other side. So, how are you going to get over here? Well, I am going to try and fly. I am not sure how long it will last, but it never hurts to try. Fu replied as she started channeling a massive amount of her demon chakra. Doing so made chakra wings appear on her back that made Naruto shout in awe. Before the cave could repress that chakra, she jumped and flew across the gap with all her strength. However, that did not last because as soon as she was almost to the edge, she felt the cave's effects and her wings disappeared, which made her fall. Thankfully, she was caught by Naruto. I got ya! Then, with all the strength he could muster, he pulled her up, which made him lose his balance, and she fell on top of him, making them both blush at the closeness. Thanks. Fu said after she quickly got off of him with a dark blush on her face. She would admit that she liked the feel of his muscles through his clothes, but that also made her feel a bit shallow thanks to her own strength. However, she did find that she had an attraction to the blonde, which was not bad given her current state in Taki. Only time would tell, and no problem. Naruto replied with an equally sized blush. He had to admit that he liked the feel on her body on his, but he was not about to admit that. He didn't know how he felt at the moment either. While he knew there were a lot of girls going after him, he did feel a connection with her. Ugh, this shit was just way too confusing for him. While the two Jinchuriki were having their inner monologues, Haku had noticed something odd going on with Naruto's currently folded up scythe at his side. It was glowing darkly, and it seemed to be reacting to the air around them. That caused something dark to happen in the form of a nearby skeleton to speak. Do you seek the treasure? However, it was said in a language that only Naruto could understand. That did not stop Guren from screaming about it though. Talking skeleton! The blue-haired girl screamed as she grabbed onto Haku, who looked freaked out a bit. Fu looked no better as she paled considerably. Naruto just looked at the stationary top half the skeleton in wonder. Yeah, we seek the treasure. Are you saying that it actually exists? Yes, but you will have to do something for the Pirate King. And that would be? Naruto replied, getting odd looks from his friends. I do not know, but the crew from the Great Blue will call upon you for help. It said before going quiet once more. Well, that is interesting. Naruto said. What? Fu asked. Apparently, after all the traps we will have to face in there, we have to do something for the dead people guarding the treasure. Well, that is interesting. Haku repeated, making the blonde laugh as they went deeper into the cave. Guren and Fu just looked at each other before following after the two boys. Zabuza sat in the middle of a clearing, meditating. He was reviewing his life thus far. He knew he was lucky to be alive still after what he did back in Mist. He knew he was living on borrowed time. After his failed assassination attempt with the fourth Mizakage, Yagura, he had been running ever since. He failed to kill a Jinchuriki with full control over its powers. He failed the rebellion. He failed Mei. Then, he found Haku and things started to get better. He knew that if he went back, he would either be killed by Yagura or Mei would for leaving her to deal with the rebellion. Still, Haku brightened up his day, so he started to teach the kid. Then he found Naruto through sheer dumb luck, and the same could be said for Guren. They made his life great and turned him around. However, while he wanted to help with the rebellion before, now he didn't. He knew they were not ready for that, and Yagura would just kill them if they failed. He was not about to let that happen. Then there was Shizen and Tsunade. While Tsunade was a hard ass in the medical department, making sure Haku learned what he needed, she was still a good member to have on the team. Finally, there was Shizen. Now, Zabuza was sure he could never get over Mei, but Shizen was there for him and never threatened to melt his balls off. She was a kind woman that he could not help but fall for. They were even going to have a kid, but he didn't know if he was going to be there for it. He had been caught by Kiri, and now he had to face the music. So you decided to come instead of run. Smart, we were just going to kill those kids if they made it out of that cave. Now, we don't have to. A voice said as for Kiri Hunter Ninja dropped in. However, Zabuza noticed something off and sighed. Fuck. These were no ordinary Hunter Nin. They were Yagura's personal guard. His toughest shinobi. Yes, I do still have honor, whatever you say, man. With you dead, the rebellion will take a major blow to their morale. I am surprised that they are still hanging, let alone winning. The man said. He was awful chatty, but Zabuza knew better. He knew who this was and knew he was in for the fight of his life. So, you going to come quietly or are you going to fight? I have a family to protect, I will return to them. So you will have to come with everything you have, I will do the same. Zabuza stated as he took a hold of his blade. Before their eyes, Zabuza exploded with power. Chakra was visibly rolling off his body, and his blade looked like it was aflame with blue fire. Because I have something I am fighting for. Well, bully for you. The lead Hunter Nin said gleefully as he and the others rushed the swordman. A ship? Guren asked when they entered the main chamber of the cave. It was huge with a lake inside. On the other side of the chamber, there seemed to be an opening of sorts, but only opened just so. Oh right. The dead guy did say that the owners of the treasure were a crew from the blue. Naruto commented as he looked at the ship. It was a brig sloop type of ship, and boy was it old. It looked so decayed that it could fall apart at any moment, but it still stayed afloat on the lake. The ship had a dead lawn on its deck, complete with a swing and a slide, as well as an observation tower for a crow's nest. The sails on the masts were ripped and had a lot of holes. It also has a strange lion head at the front. I wonder what it was called. Fu stated. Well, if we are going to help them and get the treasure, we might as well hurry up and get to the ship. Guren stated. I thought Toy were still scared of it. Haku asked. I am, but we should just hurry up and be done with it. I want to get the hell out of this place. The Bluenet replied. The group nodded and dashed across the water and up the hull of the boat until they were on the deck. Okay, so what now? Fu asked. Naruto shrugged before he extended the scythe, since that was what made things happen before. As soon as it hit the deck, it sent out a wave of dark energy that rocked the ship a bit. That was when things got strange for them. Time seemed to reverse for the area, but it also took on a transparent look to it all. The nearby skeletons also seemed to levitate for a moment before the images of their old selves appeared. If they were really pirates, they certainly didn't look like it. A man, wearing a red vest-like piece of clothing, a yellow sash, a pair of blue jean shorts, sandals and a straw hat, looked at them and smiled. Hi, the name's Monkey D. Luffy. Nice to meet ya, Luffy. Naruto said cheerfully. So, I hear you need help. Wait, we can understand them now? Guren asked her friends, who just shrugged, not understanding how that was possible now. A woman with long orange hair, the top half of a blue striped bikini, blue jeans, shoes, and a belt that held a staff of sorts, walked over and said, yes, we were pirates, a part of the Pirate King's crew, so naturally we die at sea. But there is something about this cave that makes us stay here. We need to leave and sail the dead to the locker. I'll do what I can. Naruto said. Before he could say anything else, a man with short green hair, a white shirt, black pants, and 3 swords on his belt came over and looked at the blonde. Kid, what is your name? Me? Call me Naruto Uzumaki, the Grim Reaper Shinobi. Naruto said proudly. Luffy and the orange-haired girl had wide eyes at that as they looked at each other, and then back at Naruto. Naruto's friends had a feeling they knew what was going to happen. Luffy walked over to Naruto as if he were in a daze and asked, You are an Uzumaki? Yeah. Naruto stated, looking at the man oddly. The woman smiled and hugged the blonde, making him freeze up because he could somehow feel it. I am so glad that our line still exists. Huh. The blonde replied intelligently. The green-haired man decided to speak up again. Kid, Luffy and Nami are your ancestors. If I remember correctly, their firstborn married a Senju, and created the Uzumaki in Whirlpool. The group all had jaws on the ground at that. The Uzumaki was descendants of the Pirate King? Cool. Still, Naruto wondered how they were stuck here. I am glad to have met some more of my family. I still wonder why and how you got stuck here. I can answer that. A humanoid reindeer said in a squeaky voice. This place was one of our hideouts since the old world government didn't know this place existed. However, the people here was not friendly to us at first, and to hurt Luffy and Nami's kid, they trapped us in here. The cave-in killed us, and it takes one of their blood to open the stone doors. Oh? So how do I open them then? Naruto asked, wanting to help his dead family out. Yeah, it was complicated. It is actually simple. Another woman's voice replied. Her attire was kind of odd like the others. She wore an all-purple cowgirl outfit. All you have to do is called open. We can't do it because we are dead, and it has to be someone that is alive and a descendant of Luffy and Nami. That's it? Fu asked. That sounds way too simple, but hopefully it works. Before Naruto said anything to free the dead or that Guren could protest about not getting any treasure, Nami spoke up. Wait, I want to give you guys something before you go. I know it is not in my nature to be so giving like this, but this is a special case. Luffy nodded and nodded to one of the others. A long-nosed guy nodded, disappeared, and then came back with a trunk of sorts. Naruto, this odd jewel is what we kept. We found it, and we knew it was worth a lot, but never did anything with it. It is called the Demon's Eye. Naruto nodded and took the jewel. It was a reddish-orange jewel that was shaped like a perfectly cut diamond. However, there was strange black marking in the center that looked demonic, like Naruto's red eyes when he goes Kyuubi. He felt power with it, and knew this was something to keep. The woman from earlier, the one that looked like a cowgirl, walked up to Haku and said, I sense that this mask will be of use to you. The mask was pure white, but it had a depiction of a pair of eyes looking at you with softness. However, it gave off an eeriness as well, especially with that creepy smile on it. Haku did notice a strange ceiling array on the back of it, and decided to check that out later. Nami walked up to Guren and handed her the staff that was at her side along with another staff. I will give you 2 staffs. Well, this one is more like a spear. The end is covered in diamonds, and it seemed to have a strange effect to those with earth powers. The other is called the Climate Act. I am sure you can figure out how to use it. Guren smiled and thanked the ghost, still scared shitless of her. The long-nosed one went up to Fu and said, I am Usopp, the great pirate king. Fu took one deadpan look at the guy and said, bullshit, making the crew laugh while Usopp hung his head. Here, I made these, but never got a chance to use them. They were 4 armbands and a necklace. They give you the ability to create pheromones to influence targets' emotions as you desire. They are great for the kind of things ninja do, at least I still think that they still exist on this land. Thank you? Fu replied, thinking about a few missions she could have used them. Naruto looked at all his friends and then at the dead crew members. Okay, I will do this for you, and again, I am glad to have met you all. He took his scythe in hand again and slammed the end of it on the deck while yelling out, open! Dramatically. When noting happened after a few seconds, he felt like an idiot. However, the grinding sound of stone on stone sounded, and the stone doors slide open and bring in a current. The ship started to move and the ninja jumped onto the water. They watched as the ship sailed away with the crew giving off their trademark goodbyes. Soon, the lively images of the dead faded away, leaving the team all by themselves. Somehow, they felt that that image was significant. As soon as they exited the cave, the group knew something was very wrong. Why? Because the air was saturated with so much chakra it was scary. However, they knew this chakra to be the chakra of their sensei, Zabuza. It was a lot more massive than usual, and it was fading fast. They did not know why, but they had an idea. Haku was the first to rush off, fearing for his sensei's life. If Kiri had indeed come, he needed to make sure he survived. He was quickly followed by Naruto, then Guren and Fu. They were not alone in this endeavor. It seemed that Tsunade and Shizen had felt the power radiating in the air and joined the kids about halfway to the man. What they found was not a pretty sight. Half a mile out, they saw signs of a massive battle. Apparently whoever Zabuza had fought had been strong because the scars were deep, so deep that most of the land was destroyed, and it did not liven up the mood at all for the group. And they were right be afraid for the man, because it just got worse the further they got to the epicenter of the fight, where Zabuza was lying on his back and looking like a bloody mess. There were deep gashes on his torso and his arm looked mangled, but the people he fought looked way worse. There were pieces of ninja all over the place. No one was left standing. Sensei! Haku, Guren, and Naruto all shouted. Shizen numbly walked up to her lover as silent tears ran down her face. She immediately started her work when trying to heal him. What she found was horrible. Tsunade! She cried, hoping to get her help. Said woman was looking around in horror. All the blood and gore was overwhelming. She might have fought in a war or two and lost her own lover and her brother to one of them, but this was horrifying. However, it was thanks to Naruto that she got over her fear of blood, but this brought some of it back. She quickly made her way to the swordsman and sighed at the deep wounds that would be hard even for her to heal. Making her hand glow green, she began her own checkup and it horrified her. She was so angry with this man that she wanted to hit him, but she refrained from doing that. You fool, this was something I had to do on my own. Zabuza rasped out. You could not beat them alone with your normal power, fool. So why resort to this? Tsunade screamed. Zabuza was quiet for a moment as he weakly looked at them all. Because of you all. If I had not faced them, you all would be forever tormented by them because of my past mistake. He paused for a moment to catch what little breath he had left. My students and children did not deserve any of that. My love and unborn child and my medic friend, I could not let them go after you. Sensei, no, father! Please hang on! Haku cried. Zabuza smiled weakly at the ice user. Haku, you were my first student. I only treated you as my tool due to my want for revenge. But that changed as I trained you, and the kicker was the blonde boy you brought with you one day. I will always see you as my son. Take my blade, it is rightfully yours. Haku nodded with tears running down his face like a waterfall as he took the giant blade. However, as big as the damn thing was, it was not at all heavy for him, something that Zabuza knew as well. Zabuza then turned to Guren and smiled. Even though I still don't think I am cut out to be a father, I am glad we took you along. I am glad to have a daughter like you. Protect your family no matter the cost, like I did if you have to. Yes, father. Guren choked out. In all reality, she did see the man as a father. He took her away from that damnable village and took care of her. He might have been a little rough around the edges, but she liked that. Hell, her own father probably wouldn't have been as good as this man. Naruto, Zabuza rasped out. You were a pain in the ass, but you were my best student, believe it or not. Konoha was stupid to have thrown you away as they did. You were also like a son to me, however, I could never replace the man that was your real father. I could see it in your eyes. I can always settle for the uncle position with you. He chuckled painfully at that along with said blonde. You are also the strongest student I have. So I want you to protect them with all you have. You have them to protect you as well, so always be with them in that endeavor. I will. Naruto said determinedly. Zabuza then turned to a crying Shizen as she kneeled next to him. I am sorry, I know, I love you. Zabuza replied. I love you too. Shizen replied again as she leaned in to kiss him. She wished she could be mad at him, but he had made her happy. But now he was going to be gone. Slowly, Zabuza smiled within the kiss, content. With that, There was stillness, and the former demon of the mist was dead. In the next few days after Zabuza died, things were depressing. Sure, they managed to bury Zabuza's body, but it was still very depressing. Guren decided to spend a lot of time with Shizen and Haku. They spent time training, crying, and comforting each other. However, for the girl, she remembered a special time back in the desert with her father figure. Flashback. Training for Guren was like normal for her, and the big bad demon of the mist. However, right now, all they were really doing was throwing rocks. Zabuza had just beaten her again in a spar. You did well, Guren, Zabuza said as he saw on a rock near the water of the oasis, and decided that it was good enough to throw. You still beat me, even in your weakened, delirious state. Guren sighed. I guess you really are strong. Well, I have been training on my own as well. I am nowhere near S-class and I have to protect my students somehow. Guren smiled. Her teacher was a big softy despite his reputation. She smiled as she leaned on the man's shoulder. I am glad you guys found me instead of that freak who killed off my entire village. Zabuza, still uncomfortable with his feelings with these kids, just wrapped his arm around the girl. Thank you, Dad, he heard her say, which put a big smile on his face. She was about to fall asleep when she felt the earth move. The earth is shaking. Flashback end. That time was special to her. It was when she finally said the man was a real father that she never really had before. It was a time that she would always remember. She looked up at the woman holding her and smiled with a determined glint in her eye. For Zabuza, she would protect the woman she would call mom and her unborn child. Shizen looked down at the girl in her arm and smiled. Guren was a nice girl and she thought the girl would make a great sister. Yes, sister. The woman inwardly chuckled at the thought of being a mother, and despite the fact that her child would not have a father, it would have a great family, a family that was set up by her lover and kept together thanks to a certain blonde. If she ever met Kushina in the afterlife, she would have to thank her for the redhead's son. Going on that line of thought, she smiled. This situation she was thinking of seemed familiar. Looking over to a sleeping Tsunade in their hotel room, Shizen smiled at the memory of how Tsunade took her being pregnant. It was sort like when the woman found out Kushina was pregnant. Flashback. Shizen came out of her hotel bathroom with a big smile on her face. She honestly thought this day would never come because she always was traveling with Tsunade and keeping her healthy, along with keeping her company. Yes, keep it down, Shizen. Tsunade groaned as she sat up in bed, nursing her mind-splitting hangover. What are you excited about this early in the morning? Tsunade-sama, it is noon. Shizen deadpanned. My point. Tsunade replied with a straight face. The young medic just sighed before smiling brightly again. Tsunade, I'm pregnant. And just like that, the hangover was gone and the room went deathly quiet. And who's the father? Zabuza, of course. Zabuza! Tsunade screamed. Down in the lobby, said man spit out his cereal when her heard Swanda's voice. Oh shit, now what did I do? That day, the ensuing beatdown brought down the hotel and created many jokes courtesy of Naruto. Flashback end. Haku knelt next to Zabuza. His tears had all but dried up and he just stared at the grave with a blank face. He felt lost without his father's guidance, but he knew he had to move on. Father, I wish you didn't have to die, but this is our life. We are ninja and death is a natural part of our life. Still, if I ever get the chance, I'll take out the fourth Mizukage for you. Flashback. Haku, there's something I have to tell you. Zabuza voiced as he finished training the ice user. He had to go to Naruto next to see if he was okay. What is that, master? Haku asked. At the master word, it made Zabuza wince a bit. Haku, I am sorry for the way I treated you before. You are not just a weapon, a tool. I realize now, thanks to Naruto being here, that you are a person and I'm sorry for the way I treated before. Haku just looked at the man with a deer in the headlights look. So, from now on, I want you to stop calling me your master like I own you. You can call me sensei, but know this, I have come to see you as a son. Haku's eyes watered a bit before he flung himself at the man, giving him a hug, something the man was awkward with as he just patted the boy on the head. No problem, father. Yes, this man was way better than his old father, who basically tried to kill him for having a bloodline. Oh, and Haku, I know I am not strong enough to take out the fourth Mizukage, and if I die, you might have a chance, but don't throw your life away trying to kill him. Haku just nodded in understanding. Flashback end. Haku nodded to himself. You may have charged Naruto with protecting us, but he's like a brother to me and I know how reckless he still is. If anyone needs protecting it is him, and will do so. He is my brother, and the rest of them are now my family. No one will hurt them. If the Mizukage wants them, I will kill him if he gets close. That is my promise. He said that with such determination that the world seemed to quiet down around him just to listen to the usually kind boy's words. The sword on his back also seemed to heed his words as it began to shine with an ice glow before it shifted into its true form that belonged with him. When the glow died down, it looked see-through thanks to the ice it was now made of. However, this was not normal ice, it was some of the coldest ice known to man due to the face that it seemed to freeze the air around it, giving it a misty look. It was still a huge blade, but now it seemed to curve like a crescent moon. This was no longer the executioner's blade, it was now the glacier slicer. So he put on his new mask and quietly made his way back to the hotel. Naruto lay on his back in a field on short grass. Surprisingly, there was grass in Earth Country, you just needed to find it. As he lay on the grass, he stared at the passing clouds, a pastime he picked up from Shikamaru when he was still in Konoha. Laying next to him was Fu. After the death of Zabuza, she should see that Naruto was in a lot of pain and decided to stick around for a little longer. This doesn't change a thing, Naruto suddenly said. What do you mean? Fu asked, not understanding what he meant. That fact that my goal is and will always be the same. I will protect my family. Zabuza-sensei, I wish I could have been there, but I know there was nothing I could do. I am not strong enough yet, but I am getting there. I think if he waited so we could work together, we might have one, but I know that is a lie. Why is that? Because that field was like a war had been wagged. If we had been there, he would have been holding back to protect us, and that would have gotten us all killed. No, there are just some battles you have to fight on your own. Zabuza-sensei will always have my respect, and for that, I will keep my word to protect my family. Even you, since you are one of my friends. Fu smiled brightly at that remark. Good, because I have never had many friends, even though I protect my village, she said as she rolled onto him so that she was straddling him. But maybe in the future we can be more than friends. Fu, what are you doing? Showing you what I want and taking your mind of the depressing atmosphere, she replied as she leaned in and kissed him.